Shit.
So we're live.
It's like that.
Yeah. I'm here with the resident expert on the Young Turks.
Yeah. It's a weird thing for me. I started off as a fan of theirs, very
Me too.
briefly.
Yeah.
I lost interest because it didn't compel me, but there was not that much content that was on my side of the political aisle. So I was like, oh, cool. It's people on YouTube who agree with me politically. That was my naive understanding of them. And then I started watching them and I was like, oh shit, this is terrible. I don't want them representing me.
I would argue that their content changed over the year. I mean, they were always progressive, but in the beginning, they were having a lot more fun and they were willing to contradict each other and have different opinions and different takes on subjects. And when the social justice activists would go too crazy, they would call them out. They even had like fun shows that I keep mentioning, like, can you guess what camel toes is this? And they would show like pictures of camel toes and Chen Kuger would try to guess.
Wow. That does not sit well in today's climate.
Do you want to see it? Like, are you aware of it?
I wouldn't put it past them. And I know that they're all sort of, low-key misogynists, or at least frat bros. Like Jank is definitely a frat bro type guy. Well, the question is, why did they change? Yeah, I remember they used to have guests on that didn't agree with them.
Yeah,
such a simple concept. Yep, they had Jared Taylor on. Jared Taylor completely annihilated Gank. They had Sam Harris. I mean, Sam Harris might have been the last guy that was on of any prominence where there was an argument. It didn't go well for Gank, but it's a fundamental shift to change your strategy to say, I just want people to kiss my ass. That's it.
Yeah. I think it's the Qatarian money that made them change. It's the moment they started doing their deals with Al Jazeera, that's when everything went downhill. And you can notice a big change in the way they did things.
Well, I was well aware of this deal they had with AJ Plus, and it's shady as fuck, especially people who claim that they want money out of politics. But what about money in journalism? Surely that's just as corrupting and influence. But no, it's okay when they do it. But trust me, they're good people and they do things for the right reasons. But I don't think AJ Plus gives them that much money. They're scrambling for money. They're begging their
but back then they weren't. Like back then they were a small YouTube channel that started growing and growing, and then they had this deal with AJ Plus, and at the time it was an increase in funding for them.
Well, they were looking for another round of funding. They wanted to go huge. Like they wanted to be the next CNN or a major player. And they never got that funding. They had a few angel investors and whatnot, but they have not come through. The numbers don't stack up because during the 2016 election, they got a bunch of views and they were skyrocketing and, oh my God, we're growing and growing. They really aren't growing fast. They've gained about 1 million subs in a couple years, and they have every advantage with the algorithm. They're best buds with the YouTube people. They get promoted everywhere, and they still are not growing that fast. And I
think they're losing subs recently.
Well, losing them like who? Mundane Matt? I mean, it's hard to lose subs. It takes effort for somebody to unsub from someone. But it's worse than that. They're just a ghost town. I mean, they don't get a large percentage of views, which is what matters. Subs doesn't matter at all. Subs is fake. It's a fake number. It's an artificial number. By the way, you got to 100,000 subs, right?
Yeah.
Congratulations.
Thank you.
Oh, no, I was congratulating Sargon for... congratulations on knowing Sargon is what I should rephrase that.
Why do people keep saying that Sargon gave me the subs? You know who gave me the biggest boost ever?
Who?
Karen Strong.
What is your relationship with her?
The same with you. I talk with her online. But she came on my stream, and basically her presence on my stream got a lot of people to look at me. And I got covered in some MRAs, websites and stuff like that, because people started watching my channel, and that's how I started growing.
What is her appeal? Is she still pressing forward, or is she sort of a one-trick pony with the I'm a female anti-feminist?
I mean, I don't know. I had her on and we talked about the hot topic of the month, whatever that was. But I'm not really following her or knowing, what she's doing. She's got like some based opinions on politics and certain subjects, and that's what I appreciate.
And is she conservative?
Yeah, definitely.
I think I saw her on a panel at the MethCon, and it was her versus another woman talking about feminism, and they agreed on 95% of things. They both seem to make a lot of sense.
Yeah, I
Uh,
mean, I've never heard her say anything that would make me go like, "Well, that's crazy."
yeah, and that's fine. She's probably just a cool person. I have not checked out her stuff. Right now, I'm contemplating whether or not to have a discussion with Richard Spencer and all the. I'm wondering. Let me throw that to you. Would you have a discussion with him?
But I already had a discussion with him. It was,
What?
yeah, like I was on the Andy Worski. It was me with Arch Warhammer versus Richard Spencer and JF Garipi.
Oh God. So you frame it as verse. Why do you? Why are you in a combative stance with
Oh,
him?
it's the ideology, isn't it? Like well, one of the things he was for that I disagreed is that he favors the European Union. He likes the pan-European project. He just doesn't like the people leading it and the way it's going. But if you would get his people in charge of the EU, he thinks things will be better. He's treating the EU like the ring of power from Sauron. It's like, if only I would have
Yeah.
it.
Well, I think he's in favor of the white European Union specifically, and
Yeah,
he
but
wants to close all the borders and whatnot.
yeah, but the thing is, like, I don't think the people in Germany have Romania's best interest at heart, or the people in France give a shit about Liechtenstein. I'm more in favor of people from that region governing themselves rather than having people from far away dictate what the people in that region should do.
But I mean, isn't the plan to collectivize when it is to your advantage when you're negotiating global trade deals or something, but not to make it some authoritarian rule from one small group? I mean, you're going to have regional control still.
Yeah, but the thing with the EU is that it wants to expand more than economically. Like if it was just an open market thing, yeah, I would be in favor of that. But it wants a military, it wants the sovereignty of different nations to concentrate its power. So
Yeah, that thing about the military, that reminded me of Star Wars, the prequel, when Senator Palpatine was like, "We need an army for the Senate," and then they
yeah.
went out and recruited the stormtroopers. Like that was.
I mean, look at Article 13 and 11 coming from the EU. Like that has nothing to do with the free market. It's basically the people in EU, they don't want to lose power. That's the thing they're most afraid of. So they want to silence everyone that's talking against them. And it's the whole idea, like the moment people have so much power, they want to maintain it. And they also have a plan for society, which is why they don't like populist governments winning in Europe.
Yeah, we have to be very wary of who has power because power has that tantalizing appeal, and even good people. You go in and you're kind of a good person, power just corrupts you. We know
Yeah.
that's the trend, and so we have to be very cautious of who we put into that position. No,
I found
Richard.
I found the video with the anchors with whose camel toe is this.
Okay,
Would you want to share it on the screen so people can see it along with you? Because I can't do the sound properly.
how can I share my screen?
Well, first of all, make sure there's no porn, because I know you got a lot of ladies that are playing before your videos, and then you got like the share screen in the left corner.
Why can't you do it?
I don't know how to make the sound properly so that people can hear it.
You sent me a link to this stream.
Yes. But if I play it on my video, I don't know if people will be able to hear it properly.
I
can
know,
try.
but you didn't send me the camel toe video. You sent me a link to this.
Okay. So
Yeah.
I guess the copy paste didn't work. Hold on. Just give me a second.
I
There we
need
go.
camel.
I will give you the camel.
Did you? There's camel. Oh God, they're actually talking about it. They've been on. They've been on air this long, where they were doing a square format. Oh,
yes.
man.
Yes.
Okay. So,
Mr. Angry for 20 Californian dollars, my two favorite YouTubers. We got a fan.
that's very strange. I would like to have cross-examination on that guy. What is his problem?
So this is from 2009, actually.
Okay, I'm screen sharing. Can you see me? We got Anna. God, what a rinky-dink set they had. They got the Washington Monument behind them. That's cheesy as fuck. Genk is about 40 pounds less than he is now. Anna with a very phallic mic in front of her.
But it's interesting that I actually had like some American monument behind them, like representation of
Yeah.
American culture.
Well, exactly, because they're so counterculture and they want a revolution. Oh, we got to talk about Brown Fabio too, by the way. But so they are about politics. They talk about American politics. They're all about that, but they don't like America. They
Yeah.
only would like America if they're in charge of America. And so that's why they have, it's very telling that their background that they've stuck with is the American flag unfurled or unraveled. And so it's just these strips of fabric. So it's like, we've just tore America apart, man. I'm sure they contemplated putting the American flag upside down, but they thought, oh, that's associated with some like terrorist groups or, we don't really want to do that, but let's rip the flag apart. All right. This video has almost 1 million views.
Yep.
This is some compelling content.
That's an interesting analysis, by the way.
Hmm.
You need to turn it up a little bit.
Okay, I'm going to blast it as loud as possible. But really, the camel toe is visual. I mean, I guess that is one of the byproducts of yoga pants. I'm not complaining. Do you think? Let me ask you, V. Do you think a woman is embarrassed by camel toe?
Depends on the situation. Like if you're at an office and you're in an important business meeting, yeah, I think so. But
the thing is, all camel toe kind of looks the same, right? Unless you have some huge gaping crevasse, it's not like you could. How could you possibly ID someone's camel toe based just off the toe?
Well, the Cenk Uygur is trying to do it. I think Anna actually managed to guess it, so maybe
right. But this isn't fair because you see the whole body and you see this obscured face.
Oh, so you're saying that if it was just the camel toe, I guess, yeah, you're right.
Yeah. What about showing nipples? So if you have an erect nipple as a woman, is that more embarrassing than a camel toe? I'm guessing yes. No, I'm guessing no.
Well, the thing with these things is that men don't get upset, but other women would get furious. So,
how do you obscure your moose knuckle when you're in public?
Well, you pull up your jeans a little bit, and you make sure that it goes like somewhere like a belt sort of thing. Like it goes through the underwear, and it goes parallel to the leg.
But have you ever worn sweatpants and it's sort of contouring the shape of your package?
Not in a professional environment, no. But it really depends. Like
that's right. I forget you're a doctor. I thought you were just a professional D&D player.
Yeah, if I'm playing D&D, then I don't care.
Oh shit! How is that D&D group? Is it growing or
yeah? Apparently, Sargon invited someone else, invited another YouTuber, Rags, and he's so autistic that if one person can't make it, he calls it off.
Mm-hmm. Okay, well, let's see who this chick is. You know what they should do is a U.S. Congress version of this with all the new females coming into power. They should analyze all their camel toes.
Do you think it would be haram for the new Muslim women to have camel toes? Like, I understand there's 2 Muslim women that are in the Senate.
Yeah, one is a Somali American, I believe.
Yeah.
I just listened to a podcast about that, about the first day that they selected the Speaker of the House, and everyone was wearing traditional garb. So you had a Native American who basically showed up barefoot wearing a dream catcher. And, it was a big show, a big spectacle. I like it. I like the fact that we have a youthful new energy. Like these people seem to care. I like that. Now, I disagree with them on some positions, but, politics is kind of a stagnant, fucked up, corrupt, disgusting thing. It's all fake. I don't want some Stepford wife looking Mitt Romney guy controlling it. By the way, me and my dad were joking. Mitt Romney, we would take him in a split second over Trump and all that. I mean, all of these guys. Trump has made every single prior Republican seem like an angel. In fact, Nancy Pelosi quoted Ronald Reagan in her speech she gave in Congress. and the entire house was like, "Yay, Ronald Reagan was great on immigration."
Yeah,
Anyway,
you're not a big a fan of Trump, I understand.
oh
But
God, I love how you say that like it's a controversial position. Like, oh man,
no, it's not. It's just on my channel. Most people here, including myself, we like the U.S. president, and
oh my, no, 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 no. Wait a minute, wait a minute.
yeah,
You are a literal Romanian. You are a
yeah,
non-ironic Romanian.
yeah.
What you think it's good that we have a game show host, a reality star, a billionaire con man tycoon as the president who has no political experience and doesn't know what the fuck he's doing?
Well,
You
I'll tell you, as
well,
a member of a country who's neighboring Russia, I am happy
oh,
that a woman that wanted to have a no-fly zone in Syria
oh, you're
didn't
still going
manage
on
to
that?
get the
Wait
U.S.
a minute.
election.
Now this is a record. I was just criticizing Trump, and what did V just do? He pivoted to Hillary Clinton. It's January 2019. V's still talking about Hillary Clinton. That's
Okay,
fascinating.
I'll talk about Trump. He pulled the troops out of Syria.
Oh, so what? Last week, what troops? We had barely any troops there. They were a small force.
Yeah, but it also shows the intention to disengage from that
Uh,
conflict.
Political stunt. Disengage. Great. Okay, he hasn't gotten to war. Good job, Trump. You haven't blown up the planet yet. You
Well,
do
I'm
you
happy because of that. Yeah.
do you think he will be impeached?
No.
Just maybe not voted out, but at least the process is initiated. Impeachment.
Well, if they want Trump to win the next elections, then I hope he gets impeached. Yeah.
Oh my God. So here's a question: why do you and Sargon spend your time, waste your time talking about the leadership of a foreign country? I understand America's a big country. This has nothing to do with you guys. It doesn't
Of course
affect
it
you.
does. Of
No,
course
it
it does.
doesn't.
Yeah, it
Why?
does.
How?
I just told you. Like, for example, international politics regarding military action. Like,
Oh,
I'm a member
okay.
of my country is a member of NATO.
Right. So how many videos have you done on the president of China and the politics of China?
I've done a couple, not a lot.
None.
No, it's because it's a lot more different to find out news from China because the language barrier. It's a lot
Mhm.
easier to talk about the news coming from the US because it's an English speaking nation.
Did I ever tell you the story that I thought of you differently after I visited Bulgaria? I went to
Why is that?
I went to Bulgaria. I was thinking about dipping into Romania to fly home, and we were by the sea. What sea is out there? The Black Sea?
Black Sea, yeah.
Yeah. And I was in a cab, and it was a guy. I think he was Romanian, and he sounded just like you. The
Hmm.
same style of voice, the same piercing, shrill, like comically something. I would have thought you were a voice actor and you're doing an audition, but I was like, oh shit, V is not that unnormal. He's just a guy from this region. Is that true? I mean, you sound like the people around you.
Not really. I think I just have a squeaky voice by default, but this is my accent, so I'm not trying to play a part or anything.
Has your activity online and your association with Sargon and the other nerds in your clan, no, guild, has that affected? Have you noticed a shift in your accent over these past few years?
I haven't noticed, but I think it's there. I would have to watch some of my older videos, and then I'll be able to tell.
Hmm. Okay.
Because if there's a shift, it's probably very slow, and when it's slow, you don't notice it.
Sometimes I notice that I'll pick up words that I've heard, and it's sort of depressing to me when I think, oh, Jesus, I said that because I heard that. It's so unoriginal. It's like, all right, I'm hitting play out by this.
All right. I don't think people can hear it, but it's fine. Like the images are self speaking, even if it's at max.
Okay.
Yeah, I have the same problem. I don't know how to make sound work. But you can tell people what you're hearing. You can
Okay.
describe.
I will give you there. He's asking, oh God, he just talked about her breasts. He thinks it's Demi Moore. It's so gross watching just this fat Muslim just talk about
He's
some
not a
chick.
Muslim. He's an atheist now.
Do you know he's still an agnostic? He still hasn't grappled with what he is. I'm
Oh.
a cultural Muslim. Oh, now we have to talk about the greatest of all cultural Muslims, Hassan Piker. Now, I know that you and Sargon have a hate boner for communists, and for the
Well,
longest time,
don't you
every
think
time
it's
you,
justified, like a little bit?
well, more for you, less for Sargon, because you are from a country where, in recent history, the communists played a major role, and your
But I don't
proximity to.
understand this mentality. It's like just because you didn't experience it doesn't mean you can't see it's bad.
Well, yeah,
Um,
but I could see that the rat infestation of Madagascar is bad, but it doesn't matter to me. I
No,
mean,
but you can still like look at it and say, all right, I wouldn't want a rat infestation here, and if there's ways to prevent it, then I want to do it.
yes, I'm challenging the authenticity of this threat, especially if you're a tubby bitch in Swindon versus a guy in Romania. There's a difference there. And yet, communism seems to be your trigger word. You guys hate the communists. And every time you would say it, I'd be like, what are you guys doing? This is like some ancient ideology that is not relevant anymore. But now I'm seeing it pop up more and more to the point where, and I think this is a major shift, Brown Fabio is just openly saying he's a communist.
Yeah,
We have a communist on a major news outlet in America
but
promoting.
it makes
Yeah.
sense.
Well, now I agree, and now I think it should be just absolutely bitch slapped.
And the
And
thing with communism, this is what I don't get, right? Everyone is going to point out, and rightfully so, that Nazism is a dangerous ideology because it commits genocide based on ethnicity. And then you have communism, which is against Nazism, but it promotes genocide based on class. So why is one ideology, shamed by people and rightfully so, and the other one gets a free pass? And you get
yeah,
people working at Google that proudly display the black flag or the hammer and sickle on their avatars.
yeah, Nazism is not public. It's not mainstream in any way. It's completely fringe. You're never going to get a guy on the Young Turks going, "Yeah, yeah, I'm a Nazi. I'm a National Socialist." It's like,
Yeah, pretty much.
yeah, but somehow communism has a new coat of paint on it. It's been rebranded.
Oh,
It's very, and what's crazy is that Brown Fabio is an advocate of violence. So
is
it's,
it?
yeah, I mean, he's Antifa. The guy is pro Antifa. He wants a violent revolution. He disagrees with Noam Chomsky. He disagrees with Cal Kalinske. He disagrees with his uncle. They don't want violence. Those guys are all peaceful, but he wants the violence.
You know what I love about Cenk
So it's
Uygur?
interesting that, uh,
Every time they talk about socialism, and Cenk Uygur is usually like democratic socialism, but the moment they get to the violence part, the moment it's like let's get that smash the 1%. Cenk Uygur is like whoa, capitalism good, and I think it's because deep down inside he knows he's the 1%.
I know. I mean, millionaires against capitalism is a very odd place to be. And yeah, what's up with Sargon having this whole debate over whether or not Nazism is a leftist ideology? He seems to be going back and forth with a bunch of people.
There's different schools of thought. Do you want me to get into it?
Well, no, it's kind of, I kind of get the point, but it's not important how you define the ideology. I mean, there are certain aspects of it that make it bad, namely the violence part of it. Like, and that's a binary that's important.
I
Are you
think
in
it's the
favor of
state
violence?
worship that people don't like. It's when the state gets to decide your future and your destiny, and you're not in control of it anymore. That's
Yeah.
that's the main part. And there are different ideologies that empower the state to such a degree that you as a person have no say in the future of your life. Like you just have to follow whatever the party says, don't question it, do everything that the party is telling you to do. And this is like when people are pointing out that so much authoritarianism is wrong and they don't want to live in such a country.
Yeah, it's an odd, I mean, it's really not even a useful conversation because there's more nuanced ones we should be having. Like we should be taking the best parts of Europe and putting them in America and vice versa, because both of these regions, they're not doing it exactly right. So Europe needs the freedom of speech. America needs legalized prostitution, and we all need a digital bill of rights.
Yeah, I mean, you need to tax those boobies.
Yeah, and instead we're talking about, hey, is Nazism and communism, are they bad? Let's go after those guys. No, let's move forward, not backwards. That's the whole. It's frustrating. It feels like a waste of time to me.
Hmm.
And that it's like the second layer of it adds insult to injury. When someone is wrong, they're not only wrong, they're wasting our time. We're discussing shit that shouldn't even be discussed.
Juggernaut Demon for $5 says, V, we all know you think Trump is a moron. Your pandering of Trump just because your audience has mostly Trump fans is very disingenuous. I disagree with this. The thing is, like, if I was a Hillary supporter like you, my fans would have still my fans would have still stuck with me. They would say I'm an idiot, I guess, but yeah.
You're gonna tag me with the Hillary label? How about I don't get a John
Why are
Kerry
you
handle. I don't
ashamed
get a
of it? Are you ashamed of it? You
no.
supported Hillary, all right?
I'm marveling at the fact that the word Hillary keeps coming across your lips. I'm an Obama guy. Why can't you call me an Obama guy?
All right. So Hillary and an Obama guy.
Well, I'm Elizabeth Warren, Bernie Sanders. If any of these people run, I'm voting for them. I'm a Democrat. It shouldn't be that shocking. I mean, it's not. I don't have a boner for Hillary Clinton.
It is
Bill
shocking
Clinton.
in a way
How about Bill?
because
How about Bill? I voted for Bill. I like Bill. What's wrong with Bill?
rape culture, hashtag me too. You know, like what I don't get about this is that, and I find it very funny. One of the biggest talking points of the Democrats is the identity politics. And your channel is entirely dedicated against identity politics.
Yes.
So isn't that like a little bit ironic? Like, isn't there a little bit of a controversy over there?
So are you telling me that my party and my candidates aren't perfect and that I might have a disagreement with one of them? What?
Yeah, but I don't see you promoting the democratic agenda on your channel.
No. Well, yes, I'm all in favor of it. I'm very actually interested in this new Green Deal that they're talking about. Like, I
Hmm.
think that's an aggressive bit of legislation that's actually taking global warming seriously.
No,
And
because I find you interesting. Like, don't get me wrong. It's not that what you're doing is bad or that I disagree with it. It's just that it's very interesting for a person that supports the Democrats to just constantly make talking points against them.
yeah, well,
Um,
yes, this is very easy to understand. They are my side of the aisle. I want them to be better.
yeah,
So,
it makes sense. No, it makes sense. It's just
yeah,
that there's very few people like you that are doing what you're doing.
well, but think of what a waste of time it would be for me to try to improve the Republican Party. That's not my party. I disagree with them on a million things. So my disagreements with the Democrats are far less, and
Hmm.
I still feel it's significant, but not in terms of policy as much. The policies I line up, But here's my point. Enough of this. Where are you on the left and right? Who cares? The issues are more important. Nobody cares where Devon Tracey lines up. Who cares? I'm one vote. What does it matter? You know what I'm
Well,
saying? Like,
people would say you're a public influencer. Like maybe there's someone that watched your video and you changed their
sure,
mind. Yeah.
a minor public, yeah, to some degree that's true. And so we're almost like avatars. YouTubers can be symbolic, and that's why the bigger ones I feel have more responsibility because people are so easily influenced. Holy God, it is sad. I mean, you know how advertising works so damn well. You see an ad for Domino's Pizza, and like the next thing you know, you're ordering a Domino's Pizza. I mean, this is what's happening all the time. We are we're just like lambs. We're Muppets. We're just controlled by whatever is in front of our face. Humans are not that sophisticated in the end. And to me, it's like, it depresses me because I don't know. I think, you know what it is? Here's why it depresses me because I don't think I'm any different. I think I can be easily influenced by what I'm seeing because
Yeah, I
we
think
don't.
it's different degrees. Like the whole thing with me, for example, is that I grew up in an education that tried its best to teach me how to think, not
Mm,
what to think.
yes. And I think that's an incredible skill. Higher education is the art of teaching you how to educate yourself. And
Yeah.
actually, the first thing you do when you get to college is basically unlearn everything you thought you knew because you learned a very surface, shallow understanding of, like, say, world history. Um, Now, you put in a sniping little snarky comment about Bill Clinton being a rapist. Do you believe that? I thought you were sort of a listen and don't believe kind of guy. Do you
No,
believe that he actually raped him?
it was mostly as a joke.
Okay.
But like until the jury finds the defendant guilty, I have to give him the presumption of innocence. But if you ask like my public opinion, like what I personally think,
Uh-huh.
yeah, I do think he probably.
Okay, so you
But
think you don't think it was a situation where a man who had charm and charisma and power met a woman, he wanted her, we know he has a libido. They hooked up and then he sort of brushed her off and she became bitter about it and then reframed it as I was raped? You don't think that's more
no, but
likely?
I wasn't talking about what was her name, Monica.
No, no, not Monica. We're talking about the girl from before that.
Yeah.
I mean, all of this was
Well,
consensual.
it could be like Harvey Weinstein, like he also had a lot of power, and you can say he had charisma, and
Mhm.
it's still in that case the
Right.
power dynamic, like you're a person in a position of power, and you can just do it, and a lot
Yeah,
of
but
people seem to be able to.
I still think that consent is consent. And I just think using the word rape, I know you were joking in this case,
Yeah.
but like using the word rape puts you in with dudes who are just jacking women in alleys, so I just, I don't know, like I'm still in the aftermath of the whole Brock Turner thing. And I
Mhm.
find that to be I did a couple videos on it, and I actually don't think he did a single thing wrong. Brock Turner is
I don't know who Brock Turner is, I'm afraid.
a Stanford swimmer, 19 years old, raped a girl. The story is he raped an unconscious woman by a dumpster.
Ah,
Does that ring a bell?
no.
Oh,
Let's change the subject a little bit. Got a little bit gloomy over here. We got talking about Democrats, and immediately we go to rape. What do you think about Bolsonaro?
I know a limited amount about him. I've watched a couple videos. I know some of his stances. Um,
How
yeah, I
about I
mean,
play you a clip from him, and then we can comment.
okay.
Let's see if I. It's a clip that I played on my channel. I believe 3 times now. I just find it really interesting because it upsets a lot of people, and I think you'll find it very interesting. Let me see if I can do the sound properly. All right, I can. So I'll share my screen in a bit.
Okay.
Okay, can you see it?
Yes.
And can you hear it?
Yep.
All right. Put it full screen now.
A retaguarda jurídica policial poder trabalhar, se matar alguém, foda-se! É só você não estuprar, não sequestrar, não praticar latrocínio que tu não vai pra lá, porra! Ah, mataram 60 mil, ó. Eu queria que matasse 200 mil vagabundos. Os senhores não estão preocupados com a segurança pública, agindo como mocinhas, como maricas. Um dia a polícia vai parar, e não é por salário, não. Ele tem família, tem esposa, ele é um cidadão. Se atiro no vagabundo, vou pra cadeia. Se não atiro, vou pro cemitério. Tem uma vida atrás daquela farda. E não dou bola pra essa vida. Atirou com a intenção de matar. Lógico que atirou com a intenção de matar, porra. Ele tá com o fuzil na mão, é pra fazer carinho. Falar que esse cara aqui tá assaltando precisa de mais cultura. Ele precisa de pancada e de punição rigorosa. Eu, caso da presidência, ele é daltônico. Todos são a mesma coisa. Ele é racista. Racista é o caralho, porra! Quer queimar outro, vai queimar a porra! Vai queimar todo mundo quando tu bem entender, porra! Canalha! E buscando criança na escola! Canalha, 1000 vezes! Não estou preocupado com o voto. O político que preocupa com o voto é um canalha como outro qualquer. Eu sou acusado de tudo, sou acusado de corrupção.
Right.
Did you say fuck human rights?
Well, fuck leftist human rights.
Oh, what's the difference?
I think it's regarding, like you have the right to be an immigrant in another nation, that type of thing. Like, human rights that aren't actually human rights, but they're making them up. Like misgendering a trans person is.
I see.
Yeah.
Yeah. Well, it's interesting. It's an interesting series of clips. The guy clearly doesn't give a fuck, and speaks in a very brash tone. I don't. It's like you were saying about China. There's a language barrier, so it's hard to assess a guy when you've never heard him give a speech. And I wouldn't dream to do that. And I have no idea, A, what the issues facing Brazil are, and B, what the options are in terms of policy strategies.
As I understand it, is mostly about corruption. Like that's why people voted for him, because the other candidates were incredibly corrupt. So it might be more about economics rather than social issues. But most of the press is livid about social issues. So this is why you keep hearing him come up in the press regarding gay rights and stuff like that.
I can see that any figurehead becomes a good target, and they kind of strawman the guy. I could see that happening, especially if the guy is brash and not politically correct. But Brazil faces real problems. They have major disparities in wealth and major crime problems. And so having a strong guy actually take action, some of the stuff he was talking about in terms of killing thugs and dealing with the criminal element, I could see that as being an attractive thing to people who are just sick of the shit.
Yeah, I mean, Brazil got 63,000 people killed last year alone. The murder rate is just astonishing. Like people want something to be done about
it. And the fact that it's all normalized. So whatever the situation is in the favelas or in the super poor regions is just accepted as that's the way it is in those places. Whereas, maybe it's time to go through and change strategy and actually deal with the problem. It's difficult to do though, man. I mean, talking about the politics of different countries, I remember I saw Vicente Fox give a speech once, the former president of Mexico, and he was proud of the fact that 70% or 65% of his country had electricity or access to television or something. He's like, he listed that as one of the accomplishments of his administration. And
yeah, I mean, it's interesting to see the previous administration, how much electricity they had.
Yeah. Why have you taken an interest in Brazilian politics and this guy in
particular?
Because
it's in the news. It's just bombarding you in the news, and you can't, open any of the newspapers without seeing him. And I think that he's being strawman really hard. And I just wanted to look into it and see what's going on and talk with some Brazilians about it.
It's funny because in Brazilian culture, he is a white guy, essentially. He's a light-skinned guy of European descent. And so that alone is enough to sort of make people enraged and assume the worst on anything he says.
I mean, initially I was like, okay, so he's racist, but Brazil is not monolithic white nation, and the fact that he got elected means that non-white people have to vote for him, so he can't be that bad.
Well, when was the last time they had a non-white president in Brazil? Is that a thing?
Yeah, you might have a point there. The thing with Brazil is that the first time I heard about it is that when the FIFA Cup took place, they built like this massive stadium, just this enormous construction that costed a lot of money, and it caused a lot of people to be enraged in the government because obviously, your nation is poor and you're able to afford this monstrosity. And to top it off, like Brazil lost really bad versus Germany in that championship.
That was definitely a milestone of, that was an incredible game though. Germany played so well. Have you ever been down there?
No, I only been to England.
You should head over there, man. It's incredible.
When I was down, sushi is nice, yeah.
Yeah, oh god, it's like the ground zero for major ass. When I was down there, though, I noticed that a lot of the talk show hosts, all the popular TV personalities, they tended to be lighter skinned, like white variant of Brazilians. So they have their own colorism vibe going on there. I don't think it's probably as crazy as it is in America, especially right now. But I think look, after 20 years of the internet, I think the internet plus race relations was a terrible idea.
They actually have a reverse race relation there in America. Like there's this documentary that I saw, and they're talking about this painting that's made of an artist, and it has like this black grandmother with a whiter son, and he's married with another woman, and they're holding like a white baby. And the whole thing is that apparently there's a culture in Brazil that you need to marry a white guy in order to have white kids. So if you're a black woman, it's actually a social good to marry white people. I'll have to find that documentary again. Like it was just a bewildering way of thinking. That's just like what?
Well, it does make you think. Looking at Brazil is a good way to reflect on what unites us and what divides us. For example, down there, having a big ass is an asset. Right. But they all enjoy and they seek that big ass, whether they're black or brown or white. Like when I was down there, you'd see advertisements. The mannequins, I used to take pictures of the mannequins, the biggest assed mannequins you've ever seen in your life. Murals on the wall. And it so starkly contrasts what you see in Western, white countries where the objective is to not be big. You got to be as thin as possible. But So you got language, you got Portuguese, you got the love of big ass, you got these soccer, the love of soccer. This unites all of them. And the question is that enough to overcome our racial tribal instincts? That's the battle.
Well, I think there's always going to be racial tribal instincts, and if there's not, there's going to be ethnical ones. But you get like the default state where there's friction, and then you get ideologies that try to remove those frictions, and you get the ideologies that try to accelerate those frictions and make them worse.
Right, and we need to call those people out to say, are you a person who is trying to divide, trying to inflame, or are you trying to unite? Like, what's your motivation? Because people get a pass too often. They divide, they intentionally divide the races, and they act like they're doing a good thing.
Yeah, and even if you would have like a racial monolith, you still have ideologies like communism that divide people based on class. Like if you want to divide people, there's so many ways you can do it. You just find like some ideology that works, that fits, and you push that.
Right. So it's not even about race. It's about otherizing. It's about scapegoating. Find a distinction.
I mean, it's about gaining power most of all. And the good, like the cool thing about communism and these ideologies is that you can always blame the other and you don't have to fix the problem. So, for example, when it was with Stalin, you get a famine in Russia. If you read the Harvest of Sorrow, you get to see that there's a famine in Russia. Well, he blames the counter-revolutionaries. Like there's always this other group that is responsible, and you can alleviate the wrath of the people to that other group rather than to the government.
Yeah, I think it goes back to our competitive nature as a species. We enjoy competing against other people like us. And this was highlighted for me. Somebody asked me the other day, they said, do you play against the computer in chess? And I said, no. A, the computer is fucking impossible to beat, but also B, there's no satisfaction to it if I were to beat a computer.
There's actually these chess championships where like people build a computer to fight against another computer.
Oh yeah, I've seen them.
Do you like them? I
love that. I've watched analysis of those matches. There's a new computer on the scene.
There's a new computer.
Yeah, it's called like Alpha Zero or no, I forget. But it took on the previous great chess engine, which is called Stockfish, and it kicks its ass. It just knows how to beat Stockfish. And it's very strange because the computer thinks in a different way than a human. I mean, it's recognizable. I've seen grandmasters playing online, streaming, and they're playing a guy, and they suspect he's using an engine because they don't recognize the way his strategies. They don't. It's too deep. It's too crazy, and so they think, okay, this guy's cheating. I mean, are you a chess man yourself?
I'm not the chess man, but I know a little bit about chess. Like, for example, I know that once you reach Grandmaster, it becomes very boring because it's the same old strategies over and over.
I don't think Grandmasters would say that, but yeah, there is some degree of truth to that. You just have to take on better guys. And here's the other factor, the time. So a lot of the Grandmasters are now, especially the younger guys, are going to blitz games. So like 3 minutes or less, 1 minute games. And a fascinating fact about the best player in the world, Magnus Carlsen, who's 27 years old, he's the best at long form chess, like hours and hours and hours, and he's also the best at 1 minute chess. So the guy is a complete package, just a devastating brain for this sort of thing.
So are you experienced at chess? Like, are you really good at it?
I'm pretty good. Yeah, I'm pretty good. But you have to be humble because, I know there's thousands and thousands who are better than me, but I've gotten progressively better over the past couple of years, and I just have an interest in it. It's intellectually stimulating to me. I think in the similar way that YouTube is for guys like you and I. We're not here to teach makeup and to show our cat. We're here to talk about ideas and to sort of get the juices flowing in the old noggin. And that's what chess does. Way more than a shoot 'em up, way more than like Fortnite or some shit.
Well, but then why don't you play Dungeons and Dragons? Because that you get like a list. Yeah, but here's the thing: you get a list of 200 spells, right? And you get to pick some and try to min-max your character.
I love it. I love you. I love you. The fact that you just went from I love chess to then why don't you play Dungeons and Dragons? Well, it's self-refuting. Dungeons and Dragons is not chess. It's not.
No,
There's no
but
reason.
you made like you like chess because it
Mm,
puts your mind at work, and I'm
mhm.
explaining that Dungeons and Dragons also requires a lot of thought behind creating a character.
No, it requires role playing and you guys are
No,
doing a little sketch comedy thing. It's just
even without the role play, right? Like for example, you can think you got like 30 feats that you need to take, and you
mm,
have to decide which one of those would make your character more powerful and why, and try to min max the game in
oh
order
god.
for you to get an advantage.
I refuse to understand what you just said. Min max. I don't get that. But okay, the equivalent would be if I'm playing a game of chess and it's my turn to move, and I say, "Okay, let me roll the dice to see what move I do next." Like
Yeah, but
that's
that's part of it, right? Like, how do you make the
mhm.
things that you can control so that regardless of the outcome of the dice, you still get an advantage?
Right. There's a degree of skill to Dungeons and Dragons. I will grant you that.
Yes. Or for example, a card game, right? Like if you play Magic the Gathering, you got over 2,000 cards, and you only need to make a deck of 40 cards, sorry, 60 cards out of those 2,000. And
Yeah, but
it needs to be a good deck so you can beat others with it.
all I'm saying is that the skill involved in that game is eclipsed by the LARPing aspect of just dicking around with your friends. Also, the dungeon master, he just makes up whatever he wants.
To be fair, I do agree that Sargon does make up whatever he wants.
He does. Yeah, I never used to dungeon master, but I did play Dungeons and Dragons back in the day, in the 80s.
So you do know what min-max is?
I don't know. Is that a Dungeons and Dragons term?
No, it's a term used in video games. It's when you when you pick things that are the best for your characters rather than things that are fun.
Mm, okay, yeah, I'm proud to not know that term.
I'm going to educate you, bitch. My
So
channel, you're going to know everything there is to know.
you're not a huge gamer guy, though.
I am. I started my channel as a gaming channel.
Have you evolved? Are you playing the newest games?
Yeah, I'm trying to keep up with the times and everything.
Why aren't you on Twitch?
I don't have tits.
I beg to differ.
Oh.
No,
So,
but
so would you give me a super chat if I flaunt my tits on Twitch?
I do it for just cleavage. I don't need a full tit drop.
So like an amazing atheist type of cleavage.
I just had a back and forth with him on Twitter the other day. I wonder what he's up to. I think he's doing well, actually. I think he's got a girlfriend and he's back in Louisiana. I think his channel's doing relatively well, and I think he's got that podcast going with those hillbillies. Have you thought about getting into podcasting ever?
No. Here's the thing that I noticed about YouTube, and especially people in my profession and our actually like the political commentary sphere. Everyone like wants to be big. It's like, oh, I want to have 1 million subs. I want to have 2 million subs. I want to have podcasts, and I want to have a website. The bigger you are, the more attention you get. The more attention you get, the more likely is that the mainstream media writes an article and then YouTube takes you down. So I'm very happy where I am. 100,000 subs with a little stream that I bore 400 people watching. I am perfectly okay with it. I don't want more.
I think that's very zen of you, and there's wisdom in what you've said, and I think you base that primarily off your watching and witnessing of what has happened to Sargon in recent times.
It's not just Sargon. It's a lot. Like, did you see what happened to this guy, Mumford
and Sons?
Mumkey, I think.
Okay.
Yeah.
What happened?
He was making like funny YouTube videos. I think it was like something about Elliot Rodgers or something like that, and he gets like 3 community strikes, and he's just gone.
Yeah.
Well, another example.
The depressing thing is that we were used to YouTube doing this. It's the fact that every other group and company is now on board with the same policies. Patreon was just the last straw. Like it gets really difficult. Like right now, I'm happy with YouTube. I mean, I've got my channel restored. They're not perfect, but at least they're trying to have some sort of appeal process, talk to a human being. It's obviously a difficult task, but you've never had your channel deleted, right?
I did.
Oh yeah?
Yeah.
It was restored?
Yeah.
Okay. Yeah, it's a wrestling match, and what sucks is I don't think they realize we don't want to violate their terms. Like we can argue about what the terms are,
Yeah, I
But
agree.
it's like they act like we're intentionally violating the terms, and
Yeah, you're right.
that's just it's a shitty move that they do there. And the Patreon thing has been alarming, and I couldn't believe what they did to Sargon. I assume that he's gotten his funding back and he's doing well, but
Yeah, I mean, the thing with Patreon is that they didn't do things like this because they used to have competition. Like they had the Patreon. Now, I'm not into rape culture, but if you name your business Patreon, you have it coming. I disagree with what happened to them, but they got taken down. And then you had what was the other one? Not Subscribestar, but there was like another competitor to Patreon, and that got taken down as well. And once Patreon is the only one on the market, then they start deciding, okay, we don't like Milo, fuck off. We don't like Sargon, fuck off. And it's not going to end there, obviously. Like they're eventually going to start choosing the people they don't like and kick them off. Meanwhile, they have actual communists and people advocating for revolution. So, like clearly the laws are not enforced properly. So Patreon wants to become a business that funds far left extremists.
that is where their leanings are. And yeah, this is where it gets hardcore because, if Steve Shives says you're a hateful person, you use hate speech, that's one thing. What does it matter? A couple hundred people are going to leave nasty comments about you. If the guy running Patreon says that, now you have no money. So, I mean, money matters. And this is why it's not frivolous to have the discussion on things like hate speech. And
but like what's interesting is that the mainstream media treats a deplatforming from a major social media as if it's a criminal record. Like you should watch when the mainstream media talks about the personality, about the right-wing personality. They always say it's like, oh yeah, Sargon of Akkad who got deplatformed from Twitter. Like they use it as if it's a criminal record.
Yeah.
I can definitely think that businesses, for example, can look into your social media and say, oh, why don't you have a Facebook account? Oh, I got banned from face speech. Like that might influence someone's future. And people were laughing when I said this. And then there was a case about a university, and a student apparently was a top A student, but he didn't get accepted in the university because he followed Alex Jones on Twitter. And it's like, come on, that's insane.
He could have been hate following him. Yeah.
Yeah.
That is highly alarming. God. Yeah.
There was a guy in Germany who won apparently against Facebook. Like he posted a Viktor Orban quote, and Facebook banned his account for hate speech. So the guy sued Facebook in Germany, saying that they're slandering him because hate speech is illegal in Germany, and they're basically calling him a criminal. Right. And they have to prove that it's hate speech. So Facebook actually reinstated his account.
Huh. Wow. Yeah, Germany's so backward with that stuff. One of the things I've been hearing recently is this whole notion that Gavin McInnes is a racist and he is in charge of a hate group. And I mean, the Proud Boys, the idea that the Proud Boys are a white supremacist hate group, that is false. And that does matter. And yet you still hear that people say that all the time. Like it's just, oh no, it's true. It's like, oh.
I mean, the Department of Justice doesn't label them as such.
Yeah. Well, that's the thing. The next phase is, it's not even who is a hate group or who isn't a hate group. It's who is determining who are hate groups and who.
Yeah, it's usually the mainstream media and the Southern Poverty Law Center that's doing that.
Right, and so how discredited are those groups, or how can we wake people up? How can you shake them and say, look, think independently for a second. Don't just take these people's at their word. They're lying. This is wrong.
I mean, with the Proud Boys, from what I can tell, and I'm not very informed on this subject, but you can make the argument that they're like street thugs and they try to go and have a fight or whatnot, but that doesn't make them white supremacists. Like you can be a street thug without being a white supremacist.
Yes, with the key difference of their violence is defensive.
Apparently there was like a recording that came out which shows that there is one conflict that they initiated.
There's one that was recently put out. I think maybe the video starts where it might appear that they initiated, but in general, obviously you might have bad apples here and there, but they are not going with the purpose of violence. I mean, half these guys bring shields. Remember those guys at Charlottesville that brought shields?
Yeah.
Shields, that's not an offensive weapon. You're not chucking them like you're Captain America. You're trying to defend against Antifa.
I mean, I'm willing to, just So sometimes it's good to cede ground and give the argument to the other person. It's like, even if they were
Right.
the ones initiating the violence, right? Because then you get into technicalities. But even if they were the ones initiating the violence, that doesn't make them white supremacists.
That's
And
true.
you can
Yeah.
still have like a violent group, like a violent biker gang or something like that, that's into street thuggery, and they just enjoy getting violent, but that doesn't make them ideologically inclined to be white supremacists.
People muddy the waters when it comes to language, and they do it intentionally. Take the word terrorism. Remember, we had this scourge of Muslim acts of terror for the past, decades, and so the word terrorism is, that's around a lot. And so, what did the people on the far left try to do? They tried to say other stuff is terrorism. Dylan Roof, arguably, what he did was terrorism, but there's a bunch of people they just throw in and try to make it. America, we're the biggest terrorists. America, because we bombed a country once. So they try to eradicate the meaning of the word.
Yeah, I mean, terrorism is violence in order to achieve political ends.
Yeah,
Like
but
that's.
I mean, you have to like whack-a-mole every time people use it when it's not appropriate.
Yeah,
and it gets just tiring because they don't care. It's not like people will they'll be like, look, I saw that video you did, and you were right. You were right. I was wrong on that. I apologize. I changed my stance. Let me make a public apology. No, they don't need to do that. Their fans don't care. They don't care if they're right or wrong. They just want to feel important and feel like they're a good person.
Mm-hmm. I agree with that. So I got the 200 pen. I don't know what pen is, but it's red, so it's probably right. I'm a Brazilian. We were tired of the corrupt leftist government with all the socialist policies that impoverished the poor even more to be able to control elections. They forgot Brazil is a majority Catholic and conservative country, and we did have two presidents of gypsy descent. Oh,
Gypsy descent. He didn't just send that to make you feel good about yourself?
But I'm not a gypsy. Like a lot of people think I am. I'm actually white.
Yeah, but you're close enough. You're in the same gene pool.
No.
You're telling me your great aunt is not a gypsy?
Yes. I'm telling you, my white people got a couple of slaves from Italy, right? And then they freed them, I don't know, like 400 years ago, I think. And that's the population in Romania.
Would you be willing to take a 23andMe?
Yes.
Do you think there's any Ashkenazi Jew in you?
No.
African descent?
Probably that 1%, but I don't think I can use an Elizabeth Taylor on it and call myself African.
Uh-huh. Do you take any stock? Are you prideful at all about your racial heritage?
No.
Don't give a shit.
Yeah.
What are you most proud of?
My accomplishments. The fact that I finished 2 universities and that I started a YouTube channel.
Also, that one time you rolled that 20-sided dice and it came out with a big number, that was pretty good.
Yeah, I wanted to say that the fact that I managed to get into Platinum in League of Legends last season, that was good.
Where does getting 100,000 subs rank in your life accomplishments?
I'm not putting it quite high up, but I'm not going to say it's not an accomplishment because it was hard work. And, it's like building a castle of cards. You finish building it and then you look at it and it's like, huh, that's nice. Yeah.
What is the direction of your channel this year? Have you recalibrated? Do you want to try new avenues?
I don't want to keep growing, to be honest. Like I don't want to reach really high numbers. The only thing is that I don't want to fall. Like I don't want to lose subscribers. So if I remain where I am now, I'm very happy.
You have enemies. You have the Sargon backlash enemies, and who are these guys? Like on the right. So you have enemies to the right of you. I assume they're enemies on the far left of you. But are you concerned about these people at all, or are you just sort of like whatever? That's just the nature of the beast. If you talk online, you have enemies, basically.
Yeah, I reached the conclusion that if you talk online, you're going to get people that just want to screw with you. Hopefully, I learned how to manage the situation, and it's going to be better than how I used to manage it. Nice. But you got enemies as well. Like you managed to get a video that showed the ass of Jesus Nazareth, the ass of Jesus Christ.
Yeah.
And because of that, you got a strike. Like that doesn't happen because of an algorithm. Like someone who hates you flagged that video, and they know that it wasn't your intention to corrupt kids with the ass of Jesus Christ. So how do you think you got to that? Like who do you think?
Yeah, it's people who don't like me. I mean, it's the people who dislike my videos before they have started. Like I have premieres. I premiere a video, and I have dislikes just sitting there waiting for me. I have old school enemies. I have like religious people every once in a while, I'll just chuckle, smuckle, because a religious person would be like, "Yeah, atheism is not unstoppable. What the fuck? Fuck you. You're going to hell." That's like
Don't
some
you
old
think you should
school.
change your name then? Like
Yeah.
from atheism is unstoppable, like get a new YouTube handle or something?
If I could do it in reverse, yeah, I'd probably have a different name. That
But
that
you can still do it now. Like you can change your name to Devon Tracey or something.
yeah, it's probably a bad move. Just keyword wise, I'm stuck. I'm stuck with it.
Why,
But
brand awareness or what?
yeah, just merch awareness.
Hmm.
I, Devon Tracey, it says nothing.
Well,
It's
why not Bald Man Speaks? Like that would be a great
would say bald, bald, bald what?
Bald Man Speaks.
Oh, bald man speaks. It has a potential. I'll workshop it. We'll see what we got.
You should
No, I
sell
mean,
T-shirts with Bald Man Speaks. Then I'll buy one.
I actually am going to talk more about atheism a little bit because
Hmm.
that was a very interesting topic and it's still very prevalent. That your super chat just talked about how Brazil is completely Catholic, and it is. It's insane. Like you see these UFC fighters after every time they win a fight, they're like, "Praise Jesus," like they have tattoos of fucking, you
You
know.
know, as an atheist, I start to appreciate religion.
Oh God, you're one of these Jordan Peterson
Yeah,
types.
yeah. No, not Jordan Peterson type. Like I still don't believe anything about it.
What do you appreciate?
Yeah, it's the fact that it instills some values in society that can't be challenged that easily, and it's a lot more difficult for postmodernists to try to
Yeah, but
corrupt people with their ideology.
yeah, but the religion doesn't instill the values. It's the people who interpret the religion arbitrarily.
Yeah,
They're the ones
yeah.
that insert the values.
No, you're right. But
Yeah.
it's still better than the values that like here's the thing, right? If I get like a full-blown Marxist in charge of the government, and when I say Marxist, I mean like a progressive who believes that everyone should be equal, who believes that every company should have 50-50 representation. He believes that transgender ideology should be taught to 5-year-olds. He believes in hate speech laws and all that. I don't share any of his worldviews. I disagree with him 100%. So how is it different than if a religious person is in office? And I also disagree with him and his worldviews 100%.
Well, yeah, not all worldviews are equally dangerous. That's why a very watered down, cheerful, Mormon-esque, vision of Christianity, there's some places where it's going to be harmful, but not the bulk of things. It's sort of a mitigating factor. It's but here's what I think people they don't want to have independent thought. It takes a lot of time and energy to think about every goddamn issue on your own. And so that's why people not even will look to religion, they'll look to the Constitution. They'll say, "Oh yeah, the Constitution is an amazing document. It's perfect. It's immaculate. I just defer to that." And then if somebody says, "Wait a minute, the guys who wrote that were deeply flawed. They were slave owners. So should we not go through it again and be like, let's make sure they were correct about all these things?" Hashtag the Second Amendment. So, but people don't really want to do that. They just trust. This is what we were taught to do as babies. You trust your parents. They tell you what's what.
I think people like the pattern. They go to work, they make money, they come home, they purchase the groceries, spend time with their kids, and go to bed.
Yeah.
And as long as you don't fuck with the ritual, people won't bother you. But the moment you start intervening in their little pattern, then they get upset.
Yeah, and also there's this thing about what does the group say? Defer to the group. And there's many social reasons why that makes sense. Because if you stick out from that group, you're a target, and now your livelihood might be in danger. So really, you got to just get in with the flock. And so that's why it's important to change the critical mass, like get to a level where the mainstream viewpoint on a topic has shifted. Like gay marriage. Today, gay marriage, you got to get in line and say gay marriage is fine. And we've seen that.
Well, the thing with gay marriage is that I don't care either way. It's not like in Romania, in my countrymen, we care more about economics, right? Because the wealth of people makes everyone better, including the gays. I'm fine with gay marriage. Like I genuinely do not oppose it,
Yes.
and I don't understand people who make a big deal out of it. But you know what? If you want to make a big deal out of it, you have free speech, and you should be able to do so.
Yeah, and I think they buried the lead with the discussion about gay marriage because, yeah, whatever, gays are fine and they should be able to get married. But the larger point is who fucking cares about marriage? Marriage isn't.
Yeah, that's another thing that I was talking about. It's like the biggest thing was that divorce was a big taboo back in the day.
Yeah.
And now, and this goes back to religion, right? Because here's the thing: if you actually believe that there is a supernatural deity, like it's not a thought experiment, like you genuinely believe it with every fiber of your being, and you make a promise in front of that deity, and you promise that you're going to take this woman and love her for the rest of your life, then it's very difficult to get a divorce. Because if something goes wrong, like let's say, you get bored of your marriage or whatever, and you want to get a divorce, you're going to remember the promise that you made, and it's going to be like an extra layer, and it's going to be like, well, maybe we should try to get the marriage to work. Maybe we should try to get this to work. And atheist people don't have this extra layer.
Yeah, I agree completely. I mean, this is why it makes no sense to get married, because without religion and God sanctifying this whole union, what's the point?
Oh, I can give you the point. Psychology, like for a child, the raising a child properly requires two parents, and psychologically speaking, the best environment for a kid to be raised in is a household with two parents.
Right. So it's the facade that because you're married, you're more likely to stay together, or you're economically motivated to stay together. And there's tons of people that don't get divorced just because of money.
Of course. Yeah.
And the last bastion for marriage is if you want to have a family and have kids. If you're just two people, getting married is a symbolic, gesture of nothingness. And why would you go to the state to get involved in your personal life? I don't understand. Don't tell me it's for tax reasons and all that shit. I mean,
it's for tax reasons and all that shit, as well as the inheritance and.
Right. So these things there should be a workaround for that. I mean, imagine if you did this with friendships. It's like, hey, V, this is the second time we've talked. Will you be my friend? Let's call the Romanian government, and I'll call the American government. Let's see if we can draft up a document that declares us to be friends.
Like, but if there was governmental reasons from our friendship, like get a bank loan together because we're friends.
Okay.
So yeah, I would probably consider. Yeah, okay, right. Let's get the government involved, because then we get these benefits.
I think we need to untether some of those benefits from the institution of marriage.
Well, those benefits exist because the governments want people to get married. Yeah, they want people to have children and pay taxes.
Yeah, it's just, look at the writing on the wall. Look at the divorce rate. Look at, it's supposed to be for better or for worse, but really it's for better or divorce. I mean, that's, people just don't.
Oh my God. Don't you think that might be with the fact that people aren't being as religious anymore as they used to?
Well, there was a fear factor there. There was a guilt factor. I don't think it's a good thing, but it's a unintended consequence of religion that marriages stayed longer, and
Yeah, I mean, Muslims don't have the number of divorces that Westerners do.
But I mean, think of the other methods. Think of the dowry. Think of the ring, the wedding ring. You basically go into massive debt to get married. You say, I'm committed to you. Why? Because I fucking spent a huge amount of money on this rock that you have on your finger.
I know religious people that aren't that. Well, maybe it's because of my country being Eastern Europe and more poor. Usually, like the dowry would be like a family heirloom or something. But even if you wouldn't have it, like in some cases, if people were poor, they wouldn't buy an expensive rock.
Now, let me get into a little Jesse Lee Peterson mode here and ask you about who shaped you into the man or the pigeon that we see before us. Do you have a respect for your father? Is your father a major player in your life, your development?
I wouldn't say as much. Like my parents educated me because they were gone most of the time with work. So I would say that I'm a self-made man in that regard.
Do you have siblings?
No.
Interesting. So who were your role models? Who did you model yourself after, if not your parents?
Teachers, and then there were like international speakers, like what's the name of the guy that died? Hitchens, Dawkins. Yeah, I listened to Thunderfoot a lot when I grew up, and then I moved over to other speakers. But it's mostly like university professors and high school teachers that I looked up to that managed to get me thinking. And the most important lesson that I got from my entire high school education is always read the other side. Like always listen to the other side.
Yeah. I just talked about that in a video. Man, so many times you'll hear one side of a story and they run with it like it's gospel.
Yeah.
I mean,
You know when someone tries to brainwash you, when they
yeah.
tell you you shouldn't read that, don't go to that place because reasons.
Mhm.
And like I don't care, no matter how discredited a publication is, I will still read it. It's like The Guardian, right? Everyone says don't read The Guardian, it's communist propaganda. No, I read it. Like I read The Guardian in order to see their take on it. And then you get like, don't read Breitbart because it's just propaganda. It's like, no, I read Breitbart,
Do you read the Daily Stormer?
I read the Daily Stormer and I watch the Young Turks as well. And here's the thing, like a lot of people go like, oh my God, you're reading the Daily Stormer. Yeah, but I don't agree with it. I do listen to see their takes on world events and stuff like that, but that doesn't mean I agree with it. And I read the Communist Manifesto as well.
It's just such a sad state of affairs that our way of determining what is true is to read the obviously biased and exaggerated versions from the extremes and then try to ascertain some middle ground of truth. Like that shouldn't be the way this is. We need credibility.
The best thing that I read is Our Late Stage Capitalism. Like that, they're awesome. But the thing with reading publications that they don't want you to read is that often there will be an event that the mainstream media would not lie about it, but they will not report it. So
Yeah.
the only way you can find out about it is to read from the opposition, and they will talk about it. And then you Google it, and you try to find videos and recordings and actual things that happened regarding that event.
Yeah.
And you can try to find out and piece together what actually took place.
Right. You know what's scary? Like when something happens, there's a murder, one of my instincts is to go to Reddit because I know that those dorks on Reddit are going to be scouring the internet to find out actual information.
Yeah.
For example, this girl, did you hear about this 7-year-old black kid that was shot in America?
I usually don't read about murders and I don't talk about murders because it's not like statistics, I think, tell a lot more than just one single individual case,
That's true. But people still are, passing this around like it's a important thing, that it's symbolic of some other thing. But anyway, they had this woman, LaPortia Washington, and she was the victim. She was the mother of this small girl who was killed. And I had to go to Reddit to find out like her criminal history and the fact that maybe we shouldn't be completely trusting what she's saying. Now, the mainstream media was never going to tell you this. They were just going to say, oh, this poor woman. And so sometimes the truth, you need to go outside of the mainstream.
They always do that for some reason, I mean, just because someone is a criminal, if they get killed, doesn't make it okay, right?
No.
But it depends on the circumstance. Like, people are obviously going to be more sympathetic towards the chess champion getting murdered than, some thug that has a long list of criminal records.
Yeah, but what I'm saying is if someone's giving you a story, their credibility does matter. And so understanding who that person is in totality is relevant.
Yeah, I agree.
I mean, I know sometimes people will use it to smear the person or to, I mean, shit. V, there's too many bad human characteristics out there, and it's all amplified and it's all on steroids because of the internet. So we are way over our head. We're trying to put out fires, but we are our own worst enemy. These are all things. None of this is new. It's just everywhere. It's just everybody is making the same mistakes that humans are prone to make. Confirmation bias.
Let me give you a recent example. There's this case where, the white collar crime thing. It's like, oh, white people called the police on black people. This new hysteria, this new moral panic, and it ended up with this woman who was suffering from autism, and she wasn't even white. I think she was Latino. She called the police on this black person, and the mainstream media wrote about it, and then she started getting harassed. And obviously everyone was thinking that it's because of racism, but turns out, no, like she's an autist, and people that are suffering from her case of autism suffer from also high levels of paranoia. So she didn't call the black person because she was racist. She called the police on the black person because she was paranoid. She thought that's a dangerous person. So she ended up like being harassed by this mob of people. And it was just the most disgusting thing ever because the newspapers didn't take their time to actually interview the person, ask them like, why did you call the police? They assumed it's racism. They publish her name, they publish her face, people doxed her, found out where she lives, and started harassing her at her own house. So you get this patient that's suffering from mental illness, which was high levels of paranoia, having like a group of individuals outside her house demanding righteous vengeance.
Yeah, that's sickening. Totally unjustified. And it happens so often. I mean, there's a couple cases where someone's out of line, but most of them are highly exaggerated because it's easier today to form a lynch mob. Way easier. Back when Gaston did it with Beauty and the Beast, he had to go door to door. He had to like go be like, "Hey, you busy?"
He had evidence. He had the mirror and he was showing to people.
Yeah, no, he had a good case, but like you still had to physically get a group of people together. You had to, do you have a torch? I don't have a torch. Go get your pitchfork, and then you had to march up the hill to the castle. It's a fucking waste. Meanwhile, now you just send out a couple tweets. Sean King just did it. Well, you're probably not aware of the case, but I mean, yeah, you send out a tweet to 1 million people. Next thing you know, you got a huge ass lynch mob. And
do you notice that right wingers don't really do it for some reason? Like it happens, don't get me wrong, but it's a lot rare for right wingers to start a lynch mob than the leftists. And by lynch mob, I mean like trying to get people fired, trying to get people sacked, trying to get people deplatformed.
Yeah, I mean, see, I'm thinking about right wingers. I mean, they are conspiratorial. Many of them are stupid as fuck. They are angry. They are vicious. They do dogpile on people unjustifiably. But yes, some of the tactics cross the line, and we should make a point of that. I was about to say irregardless, regardless of your ideology. If you dox people, if you try to get them fired, then you really are in a different category. You know, you're
the only time I agree with getting someone fired is if what they said or did actually impacts their job.
Yeah.
Like, for example, if it's a teacher that's pushing blatant propaganda on kids, and it has absolutely nothing to do with the learning curriculum, like it's just her opinions and she's forcing the students to partake in her opinion, then that is something that influences her actual job. Like she's not being a teacher anymore. She's stepping beyond that. Or if it's like a doctor who gives bad medication to people. I think there was in the news, like this Muslim doctor was giving bad medication to people based on gender and stuff, or based on race and stuff. Like obviously these cases are things that should get people fired for.
Yeah. Well,
but if it's like an engineer who said some racist shit in his own free time and it has absolutely nothing to do with his job, then I don't care.
Yeah, I think we live in a weird little bubble of we're online personalities, whether we like it or not. And there's still a distinction between your real life, the private life, and your online life. And when these two things collide, it always goes badly. I mean, it's very rare. Like today, I'm meeting a fan. We're going out for coffee, and I'm sure it's going to be a lovely encounter. But everything else is detrimental to me. When I was shopping for an apartment in Melbourne, I remember I was talking to the guy, and he was like, "So, tell me about yourself. What kind of job do you do?" And I'm like, I blurted out, "I'm a YouTuber." And right as I said it, I was like, "Oh shit," because I knew the next question was going to be, "Really? What's your channel?" And I had to tell him the channel, and now it was just an absolute crapshoot that the guy who was renting this place agreed with me. And I'm a little bit brash, a little bit, I don't know. People, it takes, maybe I'm an acquired taste. I don't know. So turns out I didn't get the apartment.
Again, like, what exactly can people disagree with you? It's like, no, Law and Order is bad. It's like, no, the Young Turks are great. Like, what exactly can people disagree with you?
I'll answer that. I mean, you can have an honest disagreement with me about politics. You could an honest disagreement about guns, about healthcare, about religion. You could be religious.
You can disagree with you, but it wouldn't be to the point where I don't want to see you in my face. You know?
I'm still gonna offer you insights and entertainment and comedy and music. I mean, so that's why I have a lot of fans or people that watch my shit who I love. This is one of my favorite things of like the last decade. I don't agree with everything you say, but you're still pretty good. Like we don't need to say. Go ahead.
I'm actually trying to think of a YouTuber that I wouldn't want to meet in real life. Like I would genuinely would not like to be in that person's presence. And here's the thing: like there are YouTubers that I disagree with, but someone that would piss me off so much that I would just,
Jimmy Dore.
I actually like Jimmy Dore, the Viper, the spitting man, the one who betrayed the.
He's getting more and more radical. It's kind of funny. I don't know
You
if
don't
it's
like him because he likes Trump. Like
yeah,
that when he goes into that voting booth, you know
yeah.
that he votes red.
Oh, dude, he's on the other side of the horseshoe, and it's
Oh,
just
is he?
wild.
Oh,
Yeah.
hot takes, Devon. I like the Jimmy Dore show.
You watch that shit?
I watched the Jimmy Dore show.
Oh God. Well, here's the one thing. I would prefer someone who is extremely on a side than a centrist. I fucking hate these half-assers.
Yeah, but a centrist, what does it mean? It means someone that has sides from like political issues from the left and the right.
No, everybody, you could say that, but you could still have stances and defend your positions. Like I hate Philip DeFranco.
Yeah, but
I hate
here's the thing: like when you say centrist, do you mean someone who doesn't want to engage in politics and is a fence sitter, or someone who actually has a strong ideology that can't be defined as left or right because it has things from both sides?
yeah, that's fine. There is such a thing as legitimately being in the center, but I mean, everyone can say that. Everybody, there's someone to the left and right of you. I mean, so it's kind of arbitrary, but this whole idea that, well, the left seems a little bit wacky and the right, they can kind of get out of control. So I think the right answer is to be in the center. We're
Oh
done
no,
here.
no, that's
Like,
not. Yeah,
yeah, it's a lot of this shit is binary. Like abortion, should it be a right or should it be illegal?
no. I mean, when I say the center is like if you take a political compass test and
Yeah,
you in the center, right? Like that is a legitimate, strong political position
yeah.
that you
There's
can have.
something. I agree with some of these tests. I mean, they're not the be all end all, but they're useful. I thought it was funny that Sargon has drifted. I mean, I don't understand how you're an adult man in the middle of your life and you're drifting to that degree politically. I like that's like Dave Rubin shit going on. Like, can you please like figure out where you're at and
No,
stop
no.
letting?
If you wanna talk abortion, like I can give you a nuanced issue of it, right? So you got
Okay,
the centrist issue, right? Like you got the right wingers who are like you should never have abortion. Like abortion is murder in every single case. You should never have it. And then you have the far left that are promoting it. It's like the only correct answer for a woman who thinks about abortion is to get one. It's like get one, get two for the price of one. Buy one abortion, get one free. You know. And you have these ladies that take pictures with the cells before and after. Look how much I lost in weight after the abortion, right? Now, I do think that abortion should be legal because my country had it illegalized and it ended up in quite a lot of tragedy. I spoke about it at length. But it should also be socially discouraged. Like it should be a last alternative and there should be a social taboo in getting an abortion, and it should be treated with a certain level of dignity. It's not like, oh yeah, I'm going to flush this out. You know,
mhm.
so yeah, that would be the centrist position where you're like, yeah, fine, legalize it, but I would still like socially, I would not find it morally
Yeah,
justified.
but I would say to that, if you're calling that the centrist position,
Yeah.
what you're suggesting is that to discourage it and to prevent abortions from being necessary, you would need to support groups like Planned Parenthood, which is not a centrist position, that's a left position.
Well, the groups like Planned Parenthood, as I understand it, they always try to encourage the woman to have an abortion. Like if you have a woman that doesn't
No.
really know, like she's on the sideline and she's like, maybe I should have it, maybe I shouldn't. They will try to convince her to get it.
Well, no, they'll give her options and then they'll give her a swift kick in the camel toe and right in the gut to try to initiate the process. No, I think you've been listening to right wing propaganda. I think they are very considerate. I think they're very knowledgeable of what this means, the gravity of the situation. They have no
Well, here's an
vested
example.
interest.
They
Go ahead.
and this is like something that I know Planned Parenthood does, and I as a doctor can tell you that they're outright lying. So when they're saying that there is absolutely no downsides to an abortion, they're
Mhm.
not presenting the full truth. Because yes, abortion is a very safe procedure, and you're not going to have any negative side effects. But they don't mention the other part unless you want to have a second child. Because
I
if you have an abortion, the medical instrument can scratch the uterus and create a scar over there. So the next time you want to have a child, you can have the egg implant in that scar, and it's going to cause a uterus tear, which is a very dangerous medical condition, and it can lead to the death of the patient within hours. And usually the solution is to remove the uterus altogether, so it's going to sterilize that patient. And they don't tell this to the public because
I
they avoid.
I humbly reject the premise of what you just said.
Why?
I'm highly skeptical that people that work at these clinics do not inform everyone who's considering an abortion of all the medical risks involved in the abortion. That to me would seem like an unbelievable violation, completely irresponsible. And I would also venture to say you have never gone in to have that conversation, so you don't know what you're talking about.
That is true, but the thing is, like, for me, it's very weird as a European to understand that there is a concept as an abortion clinic. It's like
Well,
here in Europe,
but
you go to the medical hospital, which
yes.
has, you know, all different practices, and you go to the Obgyn department and you get the abortion
Well,
there. So I
again,
don't understand, like, a clinic that specializes in abortions. It's
well,
very difficult
because well, but it is a necessity though, that there is a need for that. But also, you've already bought into the right wing framing of it. They don't call themselves abortion clinics.
No,
That's
I
not what
know,
they're
but
about.
obviously it's like a clinic that specializes
Yeah,
in,
but
like, part of the.
yeah, but okay. I mean, but that's like calling a hospital a euthanasia center. Well, oh, they
Well,
do
yeah,
do
but
that.
okay.
They
So,
do that.
if you have a clinic that specializes in one thing, and
Okay.
that is like abortions,
Yes.
like, okay, calling it an abortion clinic is not very disingenuous, is it?
No,
Like,
but
it's a
they
nickname.
special. No, but they fill the need. It's a supply and demand thing. But they also offer birth control. They offer other options. They offer counseling. I mean, they're doing other things. It's not just a drive-through abortion place. At least Planned Parenthood isn't.
Okay,
But all these places have been defunded and they're sort of drying up. And it's crazy that that's such a major issue. Like even in Ireland,
but
you
why
know,
not just have like a normal hospital that throughout other
well,
procedures also offers abortion, like
now, yeah,
a
you're del-
specialized clinic for it?
you're delving into a whole greater topic, which is what is wrong with our healthcare and why don't we do it more like you guys do it?
Ah, so it's an Amerikansky thing. Okay.
Well, I think that there could be some shakeup in how we do things. You know, it's I think it costs a great amount of money to have a kid in America. Like you're out of pocket a lot.
I mean,
Whereas,
here in my country, the way we fixed the AIDS problem, and we fixed it so good that we actually had people from the UK and people from America coming to find out how we fixed it,
mhm.
is to promote condoms. Like throughout school, like they constantly talked about condoms this, condoms that. And here's the thing: like when I go to a kiosk, like a nonstop kiosk in any like neighborhood you want, they will sell condoms. I went to Britain. The first time that I wanted when I got off the plane was to buy a condom. I
To see
couldn't.
Sargon.
Anyway, yeah, I couldn't find a condom. Like they
Yeah.
don't sell that. They're not easily available.
Mm.
And I assume that might be the same problem in America.
Probably to a much less greater extent. I mean, there are condoms in every 7-Eleven in America. So it's weird. America is weird because, you know, I mentioned our stance on prostitution is like the most backward fucking thing you could possibly imagine. But I'm in Denver right now, and marijuana is legal. Everyone is smoking all the time. You can't go from one place to another without smelling weed in the air. And so it's just strange. Like we're all about freedom, but prostitution? No. Fuck that. It's just that I would vote for someone who wanted to make a change on that. Which politician has the balls? We need Ocasio-Cortez to get up there and say, "We need sex workers today," and she needs to. I mean, this is something that people in Europe don't understand. Like
I
it's
don't understand why the Democrats don't put that on their table. Like,
yeah, female empowerment.
yeah, like if you manage to legalize gay marriage in a
Yeah.
country that was as Christian as America, I think you get prostitution legalized and get some tax money out of it. You can fund
Yeah,
the world.
exactly. Frame it like that.
Yeah, this is how Trump can get the Republicans.
Oh, dude, that's going to be his October surprise in 2020. He's going to say, "We're going to build the wall, or not the wall. Do it for something like we're going to cure cancer with the tax revenue we get from legalized prostitution." I mean, that's some radical but like balls.
No, it has to be
Shit.
the
Somebody
wall.
needs to step
I
up.
would definitely like. Can you imagine this? And then you have like prostitutes that say, I fuck for the wall" or something like that.
Well, you know, it's funny. Like this whole wall is idiotic, and like this border.
Well,
This
it
stuff.
would be like, do you know how much tourism it would get? Like, it would be one of the world wonders. It would be bigger than the Wall of China, right? So I would visit the United States to see the Statue of Liberty, to see the monument, you know, in Washington, and to visit the wall. Like,
But
it would.
the
Yeah.
wall is a colossal waste of money, and it's not even. It wouldn't even be a wall, even if he got the $5 billion.
But it
It's
doesn't
going to be.
matter. It's a statement.
I know, but the statement says we're morons. I mean, Mexico is not. We don't have Hamas bombing us from Tijuana. This is not an issue. People could fly to America and overstay their
Oh, you
visas.
don't view it as an issue, right?
It's
And
not.
there's
It's
a
a
lot
non-issue.
but there's a lot of things you have that other people don't view it as an issue. But if your side wins, and it wins because they campaigned on that issue and people voted for it, then it has to be done.
It's absolutely just political gamesmanship, and it means nothing. But I can imagine if someone is right-leaning or centrist or whatever in Europe, those dudes are the ones that want and need walls.
Well, why does
Those-
Mexico have the wall on its southern border then?
do they?
Yes. Why does Israel have an wall?
Well, they have a wall because there's a huge amount of influx of immigrants that are, not helping their country.
I agree, right? So the wall stops people. Like,
Well,
it works. Like,
it doesn't work. I mean,
it's not going to stop everyone. Obviously, there's going to be people that are going to dig under it or hop over it, but it's going to dissuade like someone with a car that wants to travel.
yeah, this is.
It's a desert over there, I assume.
This is depressing. I mean, look, it's way too late for if you wanted to spare the south of America or the south.
I bet there was someone like you during China, a bald guy like you with a long beard during China. Was like, we shouldn't build the wall because it's costly, and the Hans will still get involved in it.
That wall didn't work either. People got over that.
Well, they got over that, but think about the people it stopped. I mean,
yeah, but this is my point. They didn't have airplanes back then.
It's not about fixing 100% of the issue.
Oh, geez,
right?
It's not even an issue. It's a distraction. That's my point.
Mm.
Well, here's an interesting thing, though. I'm here in Denver, and I was in a hotel, and I asked. There was a guy who was working, like a janitor type guy, and I was asking him where the gym was in the hotel, and he looked at me and he said, "No habla inglés." And that's the first time in my life, in the middle of America, I've never, and I grew up in Los Angeles, never have I met a person that didn't speak a lick of English. And I can't imagine what his legal status is, but like, wow, that was new for me. I don't know if that's a trend, but for me, that was a unique encounter.
Look, apparently the wall in Hungary stopped a lot of immigration.
Well, the Hungarians they keep that wall mentality up. I spent a lot of time in Budapest. That's a homogenous place. They got a few gypsies.
We got the Romanian military patrolling the Hungarian border.
What, you're worried they're coming to you?
No. We got like a joint operation, like the Romanian military patrols the Hungarian border and their airplanes patrol our airspace.
Well, yeah, when the Muslim immigrants are looking for a place to settle, they're thinking Germany, they're thinking England.
Yeah, but they have to cross through Hungary.
But they know that Hungary is not going to welcome them. And there's another couple like that, like the Czech Republic, I think, also.
I think there was like a case a couple of years ago in Romania. They shot someone who tried to run over the border. Not from the outside in, but from the inside out.
That's some old school like wall of.
And this is like why it baffles my mind when I'm seeing like the thing with the Honduras caravan and stuff like that. Because here in Romania, it's like, well, I mean, if you try to pull that here in Eastern Europe, it wouldn't go well. Let's put it like that.
What, just like run through the border?
Yeah, we'll be like, stop. I'm warning you, bang, shot in the air. And then if they keep going, it's like baka, baka, baka. And then they don't go anymore,
Yeah, sometimes you get reminded that shit is pretty savage out there. We sit in our comfortable suburbs and we dick around on Netflix and we have fun. And then you show up at the Israeli airport and it's dudes with machine guns. They have those.
I saw that in Britain. Yeah, in the UK.
Yeah, they have that in France, in Germany. They don't fuck around. These guys they will patrol you. You get on a train in Germany, a guy's coming and he's asking you for your ticket. And if you don't have your ticket, there's issues, there's problems. You're bounced. You can't get through that.
I wanted to troll a London policeman, like they were armed to the teeth, like they had those machine guns and those helmets down. And I wanted to troll one, but the lady I was with told me like that's not a smart idea.
Yeah, and I was watching this protest in France, and I saw these riot cops, and they're getting beat up on. Mm-hmm. It's amazing. It's amazing they didn't just open fire on the crowd. It's a PR nightmare, of course, but
no, if they open fire, Macron is dead. Like the thing is, and this is what a lot of people don't try to understand on the YouTube political sphere. Like they keep talking about the nation as if it's an isolated thing, but there is an international community. Like if you open fire on your citizens, like you're going to get so many economic sanctions. It's not even funny.
Well, at least rubber bullets or tear gas. I mean, they have to disperse these people. You have to have some order.
Yeah, I mean, they do throw tear gas, and I think didn't they fire rubber bullets? Like there is a picture with one getting hit by a rubber bullet in the crotch, but like actual live ammo, no, that's not like.
He got hit in the crotch. I got to see that in slow motion.
Yeah, it's on YouTube uploaded.
Well, forget Macron being dead. I think France is really dead. I think it's already dying a slow death. France is to be avoided. Right now, I'm looking for a place to live. Me and my
I don't
girlfriend.
know. Ever since the Yellow Vest, I kind of appreciate France a little bit more. I don't understand their fascinations with burning people's cars. I can imagine that you park your car downstairs and the next morning you find it in flames and you're like, why, Yellow Vest? I supported you. Why you do this?
But the yellow vest thing is just a current little, topical thing. But they've had major problems before that: protests, riots in the streets, violence, crime. I mean, the
Yeah,
Muslim.
it's a yearly thing with France.
Yeah, I just think France. I worry for France, and it's a no-go zone for me. To be honest, I would
See,
not.
you say that, but there's so many Romanians that want to go to France and they go there and they stay there because they like it.
Yeah, but you're assuming that Romanians are smart and make wise choices.
Yeah, it's economical choice.
Yeah, why not go to Germany? There's tons that do.
Yeah, I mean, there are people who go to Germany. There's people
It's
that go to France. I mean, it depends,
the
But
Germany's the strongest economy in Europe.
it is, but it's also very Orwellian, if you want to put it like that. Like they broke down people's houses because of things they posted on Facebook.
Okay, so here's what we do: create an anonymous name and YouTube to your heart's content.
Yeah, think about it this, you got people who just got out of a totalitarian system, like they don't really want to go to another.
Yeah, freedom might seem appealing for them. I could see that. I mean, you run out of options though. Every place has been spoken for. It's not like there's some utopia. There's no city on the hill. I found it interesting though that you have not been to America, and you know so many Americans, and you know of America.
Oh my God! Like what is it? 16 or 17-year-old 16 or 17-hour flight. Jesus fucking Christ!
It's worth it. Go to
Is it?
I was on a plane for 24 hours getting to Australia. Loved it.
I would
It's
rather
one
go to
day.
Japan.
Fee, it's one day travel. You could put in some of your nerdy. Go watch Lord of the Rings on the plane. You could, listen to a couple podcasts. Boom, you're there.
Yeah, I think you have a point. It's also the money involved. Like it's incredibly expensive, especially for me. I think it's like $1,000 just the plane tickets alone.
Okay, but you have fans. You could do a little world tour.
I don't want to beg money from my fans just so I can go to the United States. I don't know. Like I don't like YouTubers that do this.
Okay, I'm not saying beg money. I'm saying use the money that you earn from your channel to go to New York City as a start.
How much money do you think I make on my channel?
I could check Social Blade.
I don't know. It's not that much. And also take into account my government takes 50% in tax. So
okay, well, you're a doctor.
Yeah, but I don't work at the hospital anymore. I finished med school. I have my unpaid leave taken, so I don't make money from it. But
so you're not a plastic surgeon?
No, I finished and I took microbiology, and then I decided to change my specialty into general physician.
Okay, well then I will grant you that there are economic considerations, but my point is the motivation. You should go to America, period. Everybody should at some point in their life.
Probably, I want to see an American diner. Like I'm really fascinated with those. I don't know why. I see them in movies and they look so nice and homey. And I also want to shoot some guns.
That is possible. Have you ever in your life shot a gun?
No, never. And I heard they're very loud, so I want to experience that.
Actually, when you get off the plane, we hand you a gun. The way they hand out flower lays in Hawaii, you just get one.
That's what the actors want me to believe. Yeah. Like if I go to a gun show, apparently I can take any guns that I want.
I'm going to do a video on Hassan Piker, Brown Fabio, who he was on record on the Young Turks, and he said, we need to be talking more about like socialism and arming the proletariat. He said.
Oh my fucking God! What did Cenk say? What did Cenk say?
Cenk and Anna and some other person on the panel, they all laughed at him. They're like, Hassan, what are you talking about? Arming the proletariat? They couldn't believe that he just let that slip out.
I genuinely think Hassan is not very smart and he's very easily influenced by the people.
Oh, yeah. I can only imagine what videos he's watching. Because obviously, nobody gets the expression arming the proletariat. If you're a douche bro from Rutgers, that's not a phrase that enters your mind. He watched someone and they said that, and now he says that.
Yeah, if I was Anna, it's like, Hassan, look, we are on the race side of communism here, not the class side of communism. Like, we are the bourgeoisie, you idiot.
No, he'd come back with, yeah, communism, you're using historical versions of communism. That wasn't the ideal form of it. Like, I have a very nuanced stance between Stalinism and Leninism and Marxism.
Do you know why they call it cultural Marxism, by the way? I think it's a very poor name, but it's
Let me teach me.
okay. So and I'm saying this because I know some of our fans are here. The purpose of communism, the purpose of socialism, is to achieve the communist utopia, which is something that never happened in human society. It's a classless, genderless, everyone is equal type of society with no money, no currency, no nothing, right?
Right.
Everyone goes to work, they work as hard as they can, and then everyone goes into the store where they can take whatever they want, but they only take what they need. So this is like the communist utopia. And in order to achieve it, you have to go through socialism, which is the economic Marxism. So you know what that is. Now, that failed. And now you have the Frankfurt School of Thought that say, well, instead of using economics, we can actually use culture. And that's what cultural Marxism is. The end goal is still communism, of this genderless, classless society. But they don't use the economy in order to get there. They're trying to use the idea of culture. So
Yeah,
that's why they call it cultural Marxism.
it's pretty warped, and it's got a terrible track record. In fact, the only time I've heard of it even remotely working is in Israel.
Does it work? I mean,
Well,
it's I don't know if Israel has like the no border activists. Like,
Well,
what was it? No borders, no nations, no deportation.
well, I mean, I guess Israel as a whole is sort of a capitalistic, socialistic type place, but within the little communes, within these little, maybe it's a size thing. So if you have a small group of people, you have a better chance. But there's still no guarantee that this is the optimal way to run things, and we should be very wary, obviously. But what I love is that the people who promote this tend to be young, and they tend to have no idea of history.
No, they're actually very old. They're university professors, and they indoctrinate the young into pushing this ideology.
Oh, well, those guys need to be called out even more.
Yeah.
If they're older, then they should know better. But if they're sticking to their guns on this issue, then that's shameful.
If you look at the what was it, Kavanaugh situation, you would see, those leftists banging at the door as if they were mindless zombies, and there were like footage of like very old people teaching them what to chant, and there was like this old guy like pumping his fist in the air and say, "We will go in front of our cabinet and we will demand blah blah blah," and everyone was just chanting after him, like indoctrinated people. Was just surreal to see. And it's interesting that the old people didn't get arrested, right? Because there were a lot of people arrested that day, but none of the protest organizers, the actual intelligentsia, got arrested.
Oh my God, life is such a shit show, isn't it? Let's be honest. There's just so many stupid people out there. It's a never-ending well of entertainment, but it can leak into really negative impacts on society. So it's not all shits and giggles. Sometimes I think that what you or I do on YouTube is just almost has no value whatsoever. But then there are moments where things do actually matter, and it only takes one or two people to like cross the line and get violent. Say, we're dealing with people who have that potential. So young human beings are dangerous. Given the wrong set of ideas, they can easily spurg out and go down a path.
I agree, but on the upside, we live in the most safe time when humanity has ever been, and in our nations at least.
So it's all perspective. Yeah.
Yes, yeah. I mean, but like, I'm glad that I'm living now and not during World War II, for example.
Oh yeah. No.
Let me bust this super chat really fast. 279 Californians from Critters Baggin, AIU King of Ad Hominem. I don't follow anymore. Sec 20, Mithriade, God King Devon, long live equality, Eurovision, and MLP. So it seems that the fan base is a little bit slipped.
He's a friend of mine.
Who, Critters Baggin?
Mithridate.
Oh, I see. Yeah, that makes sense. Kubu7 wants a link to that video. I'll DM to you after this. Hit me up.
What, the camel toe?
Eject, vote for the one with Bolsonaro.
Okay.
Vote for camel toes for all Muslim women in government. There was this Muslim woman that called Trump a motherfucker recently.
Yeah, she's the new girl.
Yeah, the new girl. She had to affirm her presence there. And there's also like a law that now allows Muslim women to have the hijab in the parliament, in the Senate.
Oh yeah, of course they're gonna peacock with that.
Yeah, you know what's interesting? It's like I'm not the Islamic specialist. I'm not the imam. But isn't Islam like very strict about women? Like they're not really allowed to go into politics. Like that might be a little bit haram and problematic. So like if you really want to enforce religion, like why not? Okay, like you want to be treated differently because you're religious. Well, then we're going to impose your religion upon you, and you have to actually follow everything.
Yeah, well, we all sort of turn a blind eye and just thank God that they're trying to reform it or ignoring the savage passages of the Quran. But yeah, I mean, it is inherently a little bit weird if you have just open Muslims in our houses of parliament. I mean, really, we should have a council and be like, so where do you stand on pedophilia or honor killing, or just go down the list of problems.
That's illegal to mention. Well, not to mention, but the European Human Rights Court just handled a case where a woman called Muhammad a pedophile, and it was declared that it's illegal and it's grossly offensive, and she has to pay a fine.
Well, yeah, that does seem a little bit backward to me. But the problem is that if you were to grill a Muslim in Congress over her stances and whether or not she disavows the heinous shit that is in Islam, then you're forced to then go through every Christian, which is like 99% of them, and say, are you in favor of stoning witches? And so because we know that would be necessary, nobody's going to say anything. We're all going to pretend.
Do you honestly think see, this is the thing with Christianity. I think it gotten through strong reforms. Like I think it's very difficult to actually find a Christian that legitimately wants to stone a witch.
Yeah, but they still have equally antiquated ideas on a variety of topics. And
yeah, of course, every religion does, but I don't think it's as bad as other religions.
That's true, but this is a point that's going to get lost in the shuffle. And to me, it's crazy that so many of our leaders still believe this ancient dog shit. Like that, it's not a promising sign.
With America, it's actually a problem to find out who believes it and who doesn't, because it's a requirement to get into office. So a lot of people will say that they believe it, even if they don't.
Oh yeah, the percentage of actual believers has got to be really small, and everybody kind of knows that.
Yeah, and it's the cafeteria way of doing religion. Like you pick and choose what you like,
Yeah, I'm happy the way that shift is going in America and England. Although it still lingers, the remnants of it are just entrenched.
Well, the thing with religion is that even if you stamp it out, apparently there's a rise in witchcraft in America, and they're trying to hex Donald Trump. Last time I checked.
I wish there was a YouTube channel with that.
There's actually a huge rise in Wiccan and paganism, the newspaper says, and I just think like people need some sort of spirituality, so they're going to find like random things. Like even if you were to press a button and wipe out Christianity from the face of the earth, you then have like other cults and other religions that will manifest.
I agree. We did not have much forethought as atheists when we sort of dismantled religion, or attempted to, at least with our ideas. It reminds me of the scene. Do you remember Raiders of the Lost Ark, Indiana Jones? Opening scene, he's trying to get this golden head, this statue head, and he's being very delicate with it. He had to get through a bunch of booby traps, and he's trying to take the head and put a bag of sand on the thing at the same time so that it doesn't trigger any new booby traps. And it turns out that this gold head statue weighs more than a bag of sand. And so it triggered the booby trap, and down comes this huge ass boulder. So what atheists did, we just took the head. We just took the golden head. We didn't even put a bag of sand. So it left people with nothing to replace the meaning of their life. Nothing to larger than themselves, no scaffolding. We just ripped it all out. And
Yeah, I mean, as an atheist, a lot of us were angry because our parents were like, "Oh, don't listen to rock music. That's the music of the devil. Don't play video games. That's takes you away from Jesus. Don't watch Pokemon. If you play Pokemon song backwards, it's like worship Satan. Don't do this. Don't do that. Don't." Like a lot of people were fed up. It's like, look, the music I'm listening to doesn't hurt anyone. The video games that I'm playing aren't satanic. I can watch cartoons and I'm still going to be a healthy person. And that caused a disdain for religion, not because of religion itself, but because of the moral busybody of authoritarian people that just wanted to micromanage your life. And they were doing it poorly. Like you knew that that particular decision doesn't make any sense. And I think that's why there were a lot of atheists.
Yeah, people, they like control. I could see that. But I think it's left us with a problem of what do we invest our faith in? What do we invest our
Yeah, I mean, a lot of people invested in socialism. Like socialism,
yeah.
I say it's like a religion, but then you have the CEO of Apple who says that if we don't censor hate speech on our platform, it's a sin.
Yeah.
And it's like, how can you say something like that and not have me point out that you are a cult? You're basically having a religion now.
The thing is, there's no obvious answer because some people will try to dive into nationalism, but then that doesn't really make sense because we're so connected now, and a globalism, the good variant, not the right wing sort of fear mongering variant, is normal, natural, and a good thing. And so, what else do? Do we dive into our race? Now you have this racial identity groups popping up, and this is the thing they're going to invest in. But that doesn't. Sorry.
Yeah, no, you're right. Like people will find different because when I had the discussion with Millennial Woes, there was a very interesting guy in the comment section saying that I anger my ancestors. I don't know how exactly he formulated, but was like he became the speaker for my ancestors and said that my ancestors are angry with me, even though he never met my ancestors, and I don't think he. But it's like it's not as bad as religion, I guess, because with religion, people do bad things because they think they have the backing of God behind them. But it's just, you put your faith in an ideology, and if that ideology gets contradicted, then you're going to get really angry and upset. And it's not nationalism; it's just pretty much anything like socialism and cultural, like this neo-progressivism.
Yeah.
What do they call it? Like intersectionality and feminism and whatnot.
Right. Social justice. People like being a part of that because it's just something bigger than them. And this is what we seek. Everybody needs that shelter. They need the comfort of being with just a large group of people, but also something that has lofty goals. They want to have a sense of importance. This is why a young Muslim guy will become a jihadist because, I'm super important now.
Yeah, but think about this, right? Think about this. You genuinely believe with every fiber of your being that God is real. You have absolutely no doubt. And he tells you that in order to achieve world peace is to have Islam dominate the world. And then if you do a terrorist act or something like that, all of a sudden it's a greater good, because what you're really doing is you are pushing your ideology, like you are pleasing the supernatural deity.
Yeah. So
even the people that you murder, you're doing it out of compassion for them because they're not going to sin anymore. Right? Like they're going to reach a higher level of hell basically because you ended their life before they could sin. It's a disastrous worldview to have.
Right. If you agree that they actually believe these things, then it does make sense in a fucked up way for them to think what they think and do what they do. The problem is, though,
to dismantle Islam with this ideology.
How?
If anyone who tells someone else to commit martyrdom believed in heaven, that they would have committed martyrdom already. Isn't it true, though?
What do you mean?
Okay, so if you are to believe, like if you are an imam or like one of these radical extremists that believes that if people kill themselves in the name of the prophet or whatever and they reach heaven, if you genuinely believe that, wouldn't you have killed yourself so you can reach heaven before them?
Well, the actions speak louder than words, though. You can't just think something and get the benefits of it. It's God is going to judge you on your deeds and whether or not you're a warrior for Allah.
No, but according to them, like if you sacrifice yourself and you die in trying to push your faith, you automatically have all of your sins forgiven. This is why a lot of terrorists ended up drinking heavily and getting with prostitutes before they committed the act.
Right. God, it's so messed up. I mean, not only is the problem they portray, that's fake. The solution is fake.
Yeah.
So, like, same in Christianity, the original sin doesn't exist, and also there is no salvation, and there's no heaven. So, it's like a salesman comes to you and tells you, "Oh, have you dealt with the invisible lice? You know, we got an epidemic."
Someone said that suicide is illegal in Sharia, and I should read the Quran. Look, I had an imam on my channel, and we talked about this, right? We're not talking about suicide. We're talking about martyrdom, which washes away every single sin within the Quran. If you commit martyrdom, now maybe I'm wrong and I didn't understand it properly, but the imam, I assume, knows better than what I do.
Yeah, we're not talking about young Muslim men jumping off buildings and killing themselves because they're depressed and incels. We're talking about guys killing other people. The fact is, most of them are shit at military tactics. So their only way to kill people is to strap bombs to themselves. I mean, it's just, they flame out, and half of them, or more than half of them, wants to flame out. They're sick of life. They hate it. You think it's a coincidence that the country that downloads the most porn is Pakistan?
Is it?
Yeah.
Well, I also know that once you ban something, like people will try to do it. Like if you ban something that's not necessarily harmful, like dancing, for example, in Iran, a lot of people have like these underground dance clubs where they just go and to dance for the sake of it because they managed to break the law by doing so, and they know that the law is ridiculous.
This sounds like a pitch for a movie. I like that.
I think there was a Xena episode where Xena and Gabrielle travels to this land where it was illegal to dance, and as they reach there, they feel the need to dance because just because they're not allowed to.
Not one part of my brain was expecting you to say, "I think there was a Xena episode."
Well, there was a Xena episode.
Have you watched all of them?
Not all of them, but I watched them. When I was a kid. I watched.
Okay, what about the Hercules one? Oh, I love that. I love the disappointed meme that came out of Hercules.
The Xena Hercules crossovers as well. Yeah,
he's quite the actor.
Sex, though, like that's something that I never understood.
Did they ever what?
Did they ever had sex? Yeah.
I'm not sure. That's some deep lore there, some fan fiction. He is a crazy Christian guy. That guy who played Hercules. He's done a lot of Christian propaganda ever since because he has no career anymore. Like bad B movies.
I don't know what happened with him. Like he starred in that sci-fi, like Hercules in Space, people would call it.
Did he really?
Andromeda, yeah. Was
that a sequel to Gay N-Words in Space?
No.
Oh.
We don't mention that here. But anyway, I understand that he after that he just disappeared, and I don't know why, because he was like an okay actor.
Well, you know what he would want to do is have a rebirth as a career. See what older action heroes can do is follow the Liam Neeson plan with Taken. Liam Neeson is now an action star, and he's an older guy. Denzel Washington is doing the same thing with The Equalizer. You got Keanu Reeves is doing the same thing. So there is a market for that. We like, because he has the recognition. We know this guy.
Yeah.
And I'm sure that he's auditioning, or he's his agent is trying to hustle up a script.
Would you see him in Game of Thrones?
Oh no, he'd ruin that. Can you imagine him with an accent?
Well, you know what the problem with him is? I think it's because he's a Christian. That's an issue. Like Hollywood right now is incredibly bigoted. Let's put it this way. Like if you don't have the right views, they probably won't work with you.
Or how about just no views? I don't really care to know the views of the actors I watch in films.
Well, let me just read you something from a Marvel editor so you can you can understand, right? And again, like take into account this is a person working for Marvel. Like he's not just a random nobody. He is a quite a higher up. Let me see if I can find it.
Rest in peace, Stan Lee.
All right, here we go. Yeah, they attacked Stan Lee, but just check this out. Right?
Okay.
I'm sharing my screen. And this is from Dan Arrow. He's got like the blue ball here.
Yeah, why do I know that name? He's a big player, isn't he?
Yeah, he is an editor at Marvel, and he's responding to Ted Lieu, who's like, as 2018 ends tonight, it would be appropriate to remember and honor all the police officers who died in the line of duty this year. There's no higher public service than to risk your life to protect the public. And then Ariel says, they literally have one of the least dangerous jobs on the planet, and they hunt and murder the people of color. Fuck bootlicking liberalism. And what I'm showing you here, right, is not the exception. Like, if you go and you look at the Marvel editors, they are tweeting as if they're CNN anchors. And I don't think that there is much difference to what Hollywood is like. It's the exact same culture, the exact same corporate culture. And they're hiring based on nepotism and based on ideology. Like how Christians used to hire other Christians. Well, I think progressives only hire other progressives and they promote each other.
Oh God, that is quite a tweet. I can't believe that's real.
Oh, I can show like so many things if you want. Like if I open my folder from the comic book industry, like there would be no end to it.
I did just watch the new Spider-Man, Enter the Spider-Verse, and yeah, it was probably the most progressive thing.
Oh, is it woke? Like I haven't seen it. Like I have no interest in seeing it. Just because it's like, okay, like I get it. Like you have Spider-Man and that's cool. But like all the other Spider-Mans are just gimmicky. Like this is too much fan service, in my opinion.
Oh yeah, it's a healthy dose of that. But there's a lot of visual brilliance and creativity on the screen. It's definitely worth the time and the money to watch it. But you can still criticize the story, the plot, the sort of overreaching. But look, what are they doing? They're taking a Spider-Man. This is the 100th story we've heard about this dude and his challenges. It's kind of amazing that they've milked it this long.
Yeah, I mean, they try to, I guess, rebrand Spider-Man in the new Spider-Man movie, right? It's this goofy kid rather than the old story. But I just my point isn't with the movie itself, is the people that are making the movies and the statements that they make on the Twitter. And the way it seems is that if you're a right winger like my friend Ethan Van Sciver, you have no more place in that industry the moment you're outspoken. And you don't even have to be right winger. Leftists like you would be flown out as fast as humanly possible.
And it's not just Marvel we have to worry about. It's Google. Google is
all of social media, all of Silicon Valley.
Yeah. But I mean, Google sits on top of all of Silicon Valley. So if those guys are one way, then
I don't think Google sits on top. I think it's the payment processors, to be honest. And as I'm looking into it, it seems that it's the credit cards that are pulling the strings.
Do you think they're as politically activist as they can be? Do you think they're going to ramp up?
The thing with the credit card companies is that they don't want spotlight on what they're doing. So if you give them controversy, if you give them a backlash, they will back down. And I have cases where that happened. I'm planning to make a video.
I would have assumed, and maybe it's cynical, that their desire to make money supersedes their desire to be politically righteous.
It's about control, actually. Like if you look at these corporations, they're engaged into politics. So it doesn't make sense that they would donate millions of dollars to, let's say, your favorite woman's campaign, and then allow people to do activism against her.
Yeah, they do have a lot of power, and they need to be regulated. And at least there is some competition when it comes to the banks.
If you want to see where it all started, look into Operation Choke Point. It's a video that I'm making. It's a thing that started in the Obama administration, where the government tried to force payment processors and banks to fight against terrorism and other things that are legal.
Yeah.
But they didn't. The government wouldn't like them, and that's when they showed private companies that they can actually do this and get away with it.
Yeah, well, when it comes to terrorism, that is an interesting topic, and it reminds me of the Apple versus terrorism, or Apple versus the U.S. government, where they wanted them to unlock or give us the password to break into some dude's phone, and they were like, "No, we're not privacy."
Yeah, exactly. But the thing with Operation Choke Point is that it was the Obama administration that actually managed to get the power to force companies to do these things. And once they opened the floodgates, like companies went like, okay, well, why can't we expand on this? Like we can actually have control and do whatever we want.
Oh yeah, we definitely have to be cautious about that. But imagine if the banking world was like the Patreon world. So you have one. What if we had one bank with one guy who had an ideology? And that's the one thing we have to avoid.
No, but
So
you don't understand. You got Visa and MasterCard, right?
yeah.
And let's say you got a bank that wants to work with Gap or wants to have like the Daily Stormer, get donations through your bank.
Okay.
Well, Visa and MasterCard are going to tell you either you drop this client or we drop your entire infrastructure.
Right. Well, we need the crypto people to step up, and we need some workarounds.
Well, why do you think there's so much slander in the mainstream media about crypto people? Just go Bitcoin Nazi and you'll find article after article after article with the mainstream media slandering them. And let me show you something else, right? While you're here, are you aware of the website bloodmoney.org?
Never.
Okay, so I will share my screen right now.
Okay.
And this is a website that's who's taking blood money from hate groups.
Oh.
And you get on the entire list, like they managed to get
fancy website.
Yeah, they got 158 websites defunded. And what they do is like they're trying to target these companies in order to get them to defund things that they consider hateful. And usually what they consider hateful is what the Southern Poverty Law Center considers hateful.
Mm-hmm.
And as you can see, they got like this entire, hold on, what do they call it? They call it, yeah, go on.
Do they have a target list? Do we see the most wanted?
Mm-hmm. Yes. And they got like a company status, proactive. Company has created an affirmative acceptable use policy that can be enforced to ban hate groups. Engaged, company has no acceptable policy, but has actively removed groups under pressure. Not engaged, company has given no indication on having an acceptable use policy or a standard practice. And you get all these companies that, they're going to use their activists in order to call, and they're going to use their connections in the mainstream media in order to slander. And they're going to, for example, if they target Breitbart, they're going to use the mainstream media to slander PayPal for allowing, donations for Breitbart to be taken. And most of these companies that they attack are not illegal. Like they're not doing anything wrong. They're completely legal. I don't know the right wingers to do anything of the sort.
No. This is dangerous.
Yeah, like for example, look, you got Stripe over here that they're doing Visa, American Express, Discover, Amazon, right? And there's other groups on Twitter like Sleeping Giants that do the exact same thing. There's blogs on Tumblr that do the exact same thing. I know about this one because it's quite a major player, and they got a couple of people,
white supremacists are scrambling.
Look. Yeah, I mean, and white supremacists, whatever they want to mean. Like for them, Tucker Carlson is probably a white supremacist.
Sure. Yeah. Shut down Fox News.
Shut down Fox News. Yeah, like Tucker Carlson is actually under attack by the leftists.
Yeah, they showed up to his house.
Yeah. Look, the momentum is on your side. Patreon and PayPal already pulled out. Payment providers must not do the work to reject blood money.
Blood money? It sounds like blood diamonds. What blood?
They're going after the Charlottesville event, and they're out, right? And they have like these articles, violent proto-fascists. I wonder if they know that proto-fascists is socialist, but anyway, came to Portland. The police went after the anti-fascists. So it's basically like the police arrested people from both sides that instigated violence, and this is what the article is about. A year after the Charlottesville melee, Silicon Valley still profits off extremism. White supremacist rally cost DC at least $2.6 million.
I remember recently someone was talking about Charlottesville in the context of white supremacists and hate crimes, and they were suggesting that guy who floored his car and was running away from people attacking his car, and he goes into a crowd, that was a hate crime, like a racially motivated hate crime. So a white guy kills a white woman, and it's racist. Like that's what we've come to.
Yeah.
That's the worst racist I've ever seen in my life.
Yeah.
And they're so, God, the way they manipulated her death, which was, obviously, I mean, the guy was malicious and negligent in what he was doing and deserved to be punished, but this was not like a hit. He didn't know what he was doing or what the effect would be. And she died with heart complications, obviously based off this crash, but still.
No, apparently that's not true. Like they went through trial and they found him guilty, and apparently like the death cause was the injuries that she suffered.
Okay. Right, but it's like a byproduct. This is not a double tap to the back of the head. This is, this was chaos.
Well, apparently in the trial they found him guilty. Like he had the intention to kill. So
Okay, but I just find it crazy the way this event has been manipulated, as if this guy represents everyone there, as if this guy even knew what he was doing. And they downplay earlier in that day, there was a black guy who had a makeshift flamethrower who launched a huge stream of
they
fire.
actually treated him as a hero. Like I remember reading a paper. I don't know in what publication, but apparently like he's a nurse or something, and he just happened to find that on the ground, and he wanted to defend people from the evil right wingers. And I was like,
yeah. Well, just imagine if a right winger had taken out a makeshift flamethrower and tried to light up a black guy.
Oh my god! Like you but like, you know what I like about the picture is like how casually he's doing it.
Yeah,
It's so relaxed. Like it's a normal afternoon for him.
That day and that situation was so fucked up that a guy who saw him do that pulled out a gun and shot a warning shot at the ground to make him stop. And that guy was a Klansman. So like the Klan's fucked up. This guy with the flamethrower's fucked up. It's like, oh my god, what is happening?
Well, like the thing is that the Young Turks, instead of offering the context and telling the story from the whole aspects of it, they were just talking about how guy shoots at a black man. It's like they cut it out, like they automatically cut out the flamethrower bit. Like
it was insane. I remember doing a video on that. They were bitching at this Klansman for firing his weapon as if we couldn't see, because they had to show the footage. And like in the corner of the screen, there's a dude lighting a guy on fire, and they ignored it.
Yeah,
they couldn't. That was a low point. That was one of my favorite moments.
You know what I think about the Young Turks is that if you look at them trying to get people to the left, like they're promoting left, doesn't work. But if you look at it like they're trying to radicalize the subscribers they already got, then it makes a lot of sense.
I think it's more pathetic than that. I think at this point they're fully committed to this company and to their narrative that they tell themselves, which is that they're helping benefit the planet, and they win awards. They win like humanitarian awards. They think very highly of themselves. And now it's about money. It's about maintaining this money, maintaining a lifestyle. They have a winning formula. So whatever they've been doing has made them X amount of millions. So they're just beating that dead horse.
But isn't it interesting? Like when the Young Turks wins an award, it doesn't say anything about the Young Turks, but it says a lot about the people giving the award.
Of course. It's like the awards are worthless. But I mean, even when they win Streamy Awards, what does that mean? They'll make a video saying, hey, everybody vote for us to win the Streamy Award.
Oh my god, I remember when they were livid during the midterms because they were getting downvoted. And Czech was so angry. It's like, oh my god. Do you know, like at VidCon when they went, apparently everyone had a Q&A session, and the Young Turks, like, instead of giving people the microphone and trusting them with that huge responsibility, they would ask people to write the question on a piece of paper and then give the pieces of paper to Cenk, and he would just filter out and pick the questions that he liked.
Well, you know what's crazy? They can do whatever format they want, and it's so telling that they don't have any voices of opposition on their channel.
Yeah.
Well,
except for Hassan, who wants to arm the
yeah, you're right. Exactly. They're willing to negotiate or have the communist voices on, but that's so interesting. I mean, even CNN, you can criticize them all you want. They'll have different voices on.
Oh, did you see the Jimmy Dore versus the Asian guy that they have? That was a really heated argument.
Yeah, it was retarded, but I mean, yeah, it was about censorship.
Yeah, Jimmy Dore was right. Come on.
Yeah, but I mean, so was my broken clock.
Yeah, but my Viper, you will not pick on my splitting Viper. All right,
okay.
Like Jimmy Dore is the only leftist that I like. Stay away from him.
But can you imagine how boring? This is like Dave Rubin level boredom of, hey guys, free speech is good. Yes.
Yeah, but in that world, in his bubble,
I know.
That is greatness.
I know that. I will grant that. In that world, in that context, it is a radical statement to say we shouldn't deplatform people. Yeah, but
it's not that we shouldn't, like corporations shouldn't deplatform people.
Yeah, well, there was a conversation between Secular Talk, Kyle Kalinske, and Hassan Piker, and they were talking about deplatforming, and Kyle Kalinske was trying to say, wait a minute, I believe in principles, and I believe whatever standard I have for my enemies, I should apply it towards myself. And he goes, yeah, I don't agree with that. He goes, so wait a minute, it's bad when they do it, but when we do it, it's not bad. He goes, yeah, that is what I'm saying. It was incredible. It was just like, and then Kyle's like, well, I think that's stupid. Said it right to his face. It's really interesting watching people on the far left differentiate themselves from each other.
Oh, but there was this interview with the BBC and Tommy Robinson, and Tommy Robinson asked the BBC guy, it's like, what do you think of the rally today? It's like, oh yeah, I think it's okay. Like, do you see any extremists here? It's like, no, we don't see any extremists here. But you are going to report that it's a far-right rally.
Yeah,
and the BBC guy goes like, yeah, of course.
I know. They did the same shit with Pegida and or AFD people out in Germany. And it's, time after time, it's just like housewives and cat ladies and just normal people with normal lives who are expressing concern. And they're like, far right extremist group rally against, anti-Muslim bigotry. It's, the facts don't line up with the way they are reported. And eventually,
apparently the AFD got bombed. Someone in the chat said.
Yeah, I heard about that.
I didn't hear about that. Yeah.
Well, yeah, it's too much shit to keep track of. I mean,
well, to be honest, if you look at the bomb attacks throughout the world, like if I'm not mistaken, like a huge proportion of big chunk of them are done by Muslims, and the rest is done by communists. So I'm not surprised.
Oh yeah, go Wikipedia keeps track of terrorist attacks, and it's just a never-ending parade of Muslims.
And it's Sunni usually, like Sunni. Like people keep saying Muslims, but if you look at it, it's not the Shiites or the Kurds that are doing it. Like they're more into the political assassinations,
right? And that's noteworthy. I mean, that's a level of nuance that I think more people should be aware of, actually, because to just group all Muslims, it's like no. It's way more involved than that. But it's such a tiresome topic. I mean, did you hear about the beheadings in Morocco?
The one with the two women?
Yeah, these two.
I saw the video, and I have to say, like, a piece of my soul was lost that day.
Yeah. V. Did you watch it from beginning to end?
Yeah, it was. It actually. Here's the thing. Like, I am used to seeing death because I work at a hospital, so I do see people passing away, and it's terrible when you see it, especially in real life. But that shook me to the core. Like that was just another level of. I wish I wouldn't see it. Like I wish I would have unseen it. To be honest.
Somebody sent me a link to that, and out of curiosity, I clicked the link not to see the beheading, but to see that someone sent me a clip to an actual beheading. I was like, did they really just send that to me? And I clicked play on it. I thought about it for about 10 seconds. Clicked play on it to verify if it's an actual footage of this. Within the first 3 seconds of that video, the woman lets out a scream that was something worse than I've ever heard in my life.
Yeah, it was harrowing. Like that's the thing. I think it's the being a YouTuber thing because you have like tens of thousands of people and they constantly send you stuff.
Yeah.
And oh my god, like can we not talk about it because it just fucks me up.
Yeah, and so I sent a reply back to him. I was like, stop sending me beheading videos, but do you have any hardcore like angry aggressive sex videos that is like too hot for the porn sites to send me? And he hasn't written back. I'm just kidding. I have not, but I am curious. Well, it's like the dark web. What else is out there?
I guess it's the morbid curiosity that makes you want to click it. But from now on, like I wish I wouldn't have clicked it, and it's just I don't want to talk about it seriously.
I know. I can't believe you sat through it, and now that's a part of your memory.
Well, it's like when you see a calamity or a train crash or something like that, it's very difficult to look away. I haven't sat through like the last second, but I just seriously.
Well, I think it was important though for us at some point to have seen a beheading video. I really truly believe that. I don't think it is helpful to continue to watch all that stuff, but when ISIS first started doing that, you needed to be aware that this is something happening.
That's the thing that really marked me, right? Because when you watch a horror movie or you watch some special effects where someone ends up getting killed or beheaded, like in Final Destination or something like that, it's fictional, right? And you get desensitized to it. But you have to understand this actually happened to a person. And this is why I didn't even make a video about it. Like a lot of people made a video and they mock these two girls, and it's like, oh well, what did you expect? Why did you went there? Blah 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 blah. I couldn't because I know what happened. And
who the fuck would mock these girls?
Not necessarily mock, but use them as political ammunition.
Yeah, it's just stupid.
I mean, this is why I didn't do it because. And a lot of my fans requested me to. I think even a Patreon asked me to, and I said, "Look, man, no, sorry, this is a line." because I saw what happened to them, and it was just so
Mhm.
fucked up that I didn't want to.
Right,
Yeah,
but and for citizens, we don't want to be psychologically scarred with this, but our leaders and people that are creating policy, they need to be fully aware of the threats, and it's incredibly relevant to point out that this was not a Jewish people that did this. This was not Christians, not atheists, and this is not a one-off. This is not just some random event from some psychologically disturbed guy. There's a rhyme and reason to this. They were following a set of ideas. This is tied to ISIS. This is tied to a larger chain of events. It's a very recognizable pattern, and it hasn't gone
But yeah,
away.
like here's something that I don't get, right? Like people, especially in media, they always when you want like a generic bad guy, you're going to go for the Nazis, right?
Mhm.
Unless you want zombies. I think zombies and Nazis, like they're the generic bad guy that you can put in any action film, and you can mold them down in a video game, and right?
Robots. Yep.
Yeah, but no one puts ISIS.
Uh, maybe that.
Uh,
Maybe there's a wave of new movies might come out. I'm watching a show right now. Jack Clancy is.
I don't think they will touch it. I don't think they will touch it with a 10-foot pole. They
Yeah.
never go after it because you can tie it with Islam and it's then Islamophobic.
Well, maybe not in films, but on television. So Tom Clancy's Jack Ryan is the TV show I'm watching, and also Homeland. Both of these deal with jihadism and terror cells.
Yeah, but if you look at Homeland, it's usually also like here's the difference between a right-wing movie and a left-wing movie, right? In right-wing, it's usually the enemy is outside, like you got your nation, like you got America, and the enemy is someone from outside of America trying to hurt America.
Mhm.
And then when you look at left-leaning movies, you got the enemy is always in the inside. Like it's from within, it's from the government. It's the corrupt American system that's the real enemy.
Well, I'm not sure if Homeland is a left-leaning show or if that's even useful.
Well, come on, you got like CIA working against the president. You got like people within the government that are constantly trying to betray the American people.
Okay. So technically, that redhead was a mole. He was an operative, a Muslim guy who was within the American. He was an American, but it was still the ideology that was the bad guy. So even if it was an American,
look at for example, right? Like you got the Muslim kid, I think in the last season, who gets in a truck and
yes, so
does like this bombing attack, terrorist attack, right? And I was like, oh my god, I can't believe they did it. Like the critics are going to believe it. And then the next episode, it's found out that it's not really him. Like someone actually used him as bait. Like it was an American
was it an American? I thought it was another Muslim.
No, it was an American. Like they planted that in order to try to get the president into a location,
well,
or something.
If someone could make a case that a show like that is pulling their punches on Islam and the threat of Muslim terror, then I would be concerned. But the very fact that the central theme of that show is the threat of Muslim terror, to me, is that's a good thing.
Well, I think it was in season 1, but as the show went on, it moved away from it.
Mm-hmm. I mean,
it went to the Russians and it played into the Russian hacker narrative.
Well, the truth is, you in Romania, me in Denver currently, Muslims are not the biggest issue, but that doesn't mean it's not.
I think.
Well, that's a very interesting issue, but it doesn't mean that the Muslim threat and issue is not completely on the front line for so many people all around the world. The problem is, guys like you and I, we get tired of that. Like I got tired talking about religion. It's dead. It's not interesting to me anymore. And so you just said you didn't do a video on a Muslim beheading because what are you going to say? You're against it? It's bad? Like how many times can we go through this? It's aggravating that it's still here, and we feel sort of impotent and powerless to stop it. And yet we still feel the need to vent or maybe at least expose, to talk about it, to like shine light on these things. Because damn it, I want to get to other topics like sex robots and AI and free will and pop cultures, things like that. It's much more fun to talk about.
It's interesting because everyone says like, oh my god, you're talking about the Young Turks again. And you do need to have a certain level of charisma to be able to talk about the same subject and still keep people interested.
Well, first of all, I'm not talking about the Young Turks is not the Young Turks. They cover every topic in the news. So I'm talking about the topics in the news, and I feel it's relevant and important, and I'm perfectly fine with that. I'm happy to justify that to you. These are a group of people in LA I was raised in LA. They work in Culver City and West Los Angeles. I used to live and work in Culver City and West Los Angeles. I feel it's somebody's duty, and I'll take on that mantle to, for the record, point out that these people are bad for society and are causing harm and are causing bloodshed. The amount of propaganda they put out, and I understand my channel is very small and is this is all just a symbolic gesture in the end. But I want someone, if you think that the Young Turks are going to just put out their bullshit and nobody's going to speak back against them, you're incorrect. I'll take that. I'll be that guy.
No, I mean, everyone used to speak against the actors. I used to have them like weekly on my channel, but it gets tired after a while. Like,
well, look, I'm not such a LARPer. Like, half of the shit I do is just for fun, and it's
yeah,
hysterical.
I know. But the thing is, like, people started to assume that it's the actors. Of course, they're crazy, but no, like maybe the world needs a guy like you that will tackle on the things that no one else wants to talk
Sure.
about.
I'll do that. And look,
Oh,
it's
look. Here's another publication that you could look into.
Uh-huh.
Called The Root. It is the most
Yes.
shared leftist publication on the internet.
I thought it was more like a black thing.
It is a black thing, but it's the #1 leftist publication that's being shared on the internet.
Yeah, I'll check that out. I mean, there's some crazy outlets like Everyday Feminism. I'm sure you're aware of.
Yeah, but that's not a big thing. Let me actually look at The Root. What hot takes they have this day.
Well, that is a interesting point to understand the size and influence of various groups. Somebody just did a study with that. They had a graph talking about the sphere of influence of guys like Joe Rogan versus Stephen Colbert versus Steven Crowder, and I think you and I are actually on that list. We're somewhere in these in the graph.
What? Are we?
Yeah, Tim Pool did a video on it.
How am I doing?
You're a little spot. You're a pale blue dot.
Oh yeah, the alternative influence. Yeah, I know.
Yeah.
So it's the hit list.
Because when you are lost in your routine online, it's hard to determine how popular things are. What is the reach?
Oh, but it wasn't about reach. No. That list was about who's streaming with whom.
No. I'm saying there's a new one. Tim Pool did a new one with another guy. Not a bullshit graph.
Can you give me a link to it? I want to watch it.
Yeah, somebody in your chat will have it.
Please DM it to me. Like I want to see it.
Okay. Yeah. It's interesting.
You watched Tim Pool, huh?
No, on time to time, you should
stream it with him, and it should be like the bald council.
Well, I'm out of the closet bald. I think he's still in the closet.
You're going to be happy when you're old and everyone gets white hair, and you're going to be bald. It will make you look younger.
Yeah, I wish I had. Somebody asked me what was your fantasy hairstyle if you had one, and I've always been fond of the David Beckham faux mohawk. Faux hawk. I wish I could rock that. I would totally.
Did you try different products, like hair growing products?
Oh yeah, this was when I was at Berkeley, and I asked my dad, and I think I bought a book, and it was such witchcraft. I was going to Chinese markets, gathering herbs and medicines and roots and shit, and I mixed together something, and I put it in my hair, and somebody told me to stand on my head at night. I was like a vampire. It was crazy. I tried everything.
Did you check your testosterone level? Because usually people with high testosterone don't have hair.
Yeah, I don't know. I got fucked. But it gave me a lot of life lessons, because the basic being life is not always going to go the way you want. Now you have to get over that and stop crying about that and deal with what is real. And that's a big lesson to learn, especially for a young person who's immortal and is like, why me? This isn't fair. It's like, give me a break. Somebody just got cancer today, you little bitch.
Oh, I can't live my life like that, because then everything you experience, it's like, well, there's nothing because I'm going to experience something worse. It's like, yeah, but I don't care. I'm the center of the universe,
Yeah, but that is the one thing we have control over is our attitude and perspective on things.
Yeah, I guess that's true. But sometimes I enjoy being pissed off and cursing and whining about something.
Oh, and not only that, I think it's important to discredit your raw emotions. I mean, they're natural. They're real. They're there for a reason.
Someone in the chat just posted an egg. Why did they?
Oh, damn it. That's too soon.
What does that mean?
They're saying I look like an egg. It's very.
Oh, I see. But I don't think you look like an egg upside down, to be honest, because you got
Yeah, they don't get the right
Do you know
rotation.
that if you put an egg and you try to get it to stay like on the base, it doesn't. But if you boil an egg and you put it on the base, it stays there.
I feel like I've seen a science thing about that at some point. It seems like something Bill Nye would talk about.
Oh, when he doesn't talk about the genders, yeah.
Yeah, is that show dead? I think they have to have canceled that, right? His reboot.
I don't know, but I love the fact that they tried to make him like the science for the people. You know, it's like
Yeah,
the argument from authority or something like that.
right.
And
It was a stretch and a half. I mean, he's barely a scientist, and the fact that like I want my Bill Nye to tell me that water is H2O. I don't want him to then pivot to, by the way, they used water cannons to blast black people in the 1960s, and that was terrible. Fuck those whites.
do you know that water isn't wet?
You just blew my mind.
No, seriously. Wet is the property of an object that comes into contact with water, right? And it's a property that can be removed. So if you put water on your desk, it becomes wet. But you can then wipe out the water and the desk stops being wet. It's basically the idea that water can't be wet, just like fire itself can't be burning.
Well, I guess you have to.
It can't be on fire.
You're playing with layman's definitions of terms, so you'd have to give me a scientific definition of what wet is for that to make sense.
Yeah, but water isn't dry either. Like these are states that objects go through. So in order for something to be wet, it needs to also be able to be dry, which is why water can't be wet.
Are you telling me that? Are you saying that farts aren't gaseous?
No, farts are gaseous.
Okay. Solid sometimes, or I guess that's a different word. You're
I'm trying to have a philosophical conversation here, and you're bringing it to farts.
Dude, you've been bouncing around. We've covered many topics. It's very enjoyable. I do have to meet up with a fan, however. So
yeah. Also, like I do have to learn how to upload my streams on BitChute. I don't like having them up on YouTube.
You're concerned about your well-being on this platform?
Yeah, I am definitely very concerned about my well-being on this platform. So yeah, I'm going to make I'm telling my chat now that I'm going to make a BitChute account where you're going to find these streams, and you're going to see them there.
Nice. Diversify. Play it safe.
Yeah, of course. You should too, by the way, especially you.
Yeah, I got some fallback plans. I got a website and stuff like that.
Did you get a big boner when you got your channel back?
It was exciting. It took a long time, a lot of effort. Months went by, and
one day you said, "God damn it, I'm gonna get it back." And you went into an airport, and there were like trains and planes and shit, and you're like, you know what? I'm not making money. If you want me to keep doing this, you get me my YouTube channel back.
Yeah, it was an interesting little moment to see how you react. Like I'll make a video and it gets way less views. You know, it's just a small audience, and just the disappointment. Again, it's perspective. It's like I once had a big channel, now I have a small channel. Okay, you got to move on though. You got to just.
How many channels did you got? Like you got like Atheism is Unstoppable 7 or some shit at one point.
Yeah, no, I mean I just have the one main one, and that's the only one I post to. I edit my videos. I do streams on a couple other ones, but I don't want others. I would much rather have one, but it's the same thing you're talking about. You got to have a safety plan. You got to have a safety net.
Yeah. Anyway, thank you for being here, Devon. I really appreciate it. If you want me on your channel, I'll grace you with my presence.
Wait a minute. This was streaming?
No.
This is not just a private call between you and I.
No. I'll delete it.
Thank you. All right, highly fun. Talk to you later.
Yes. See ya. I'll read some of the more super chats. Critters bugging. Kurds are nationalists. Other Muslims hate them. Brad Burns 24 had so many loyalty betrayals. Was loved by right wingers back in the Bush era. Yeah, that's true. But again, like my point isn't if a show is loved by right wingers or left wingers, is that you can tell who writes the show if it's a political show about America, for example. If the enemy is from without, then it's a right winger that wrote it, and if the enemy is from within, then it's a left winger. This is not 100% accurate, of course. It's just like something that I noticed. Doesn't matter for $5. Wrong. Water can be wet in multiple ways, in multiple views and circumstances. I'll let you think about it. I thought about it hard. No, I'm not deleting the stream. don't freak out. I'm just planning for future streams because there are times when I, for example, go through a stream and I'm sharing my video, and you can see some commercial or an ad on the website that I'm on, and it shows some boobage or something like that, and it's like, oh, no, I have to delete it. Rocky Desert Flower for $2. Muslim women can hold positions of power. See, as I said, like, I don't know. Like that's how I started. It's like I genuinely don't know if it's haram or not. And if you say it's not haram, then I was wrong. So thank you for watching. I appreciate it. I hope you enjoyed it, and I'll see you all tomorrow.